Chapter 5:14. In the periphery of the Blood Demon region, waves of terrifying energy shook the nearby trees and caused them to collapse and sway. As a deputy leader and a high-level Earth sovereign, Flaming Snake had killed countless people in his life. He was not someone who was afraid of death. However, why did he immediately run away when he saw Ling Xiao and the others? That was because he cultivated a secret technique that allowed him to see through the true strength of a martial artist who was stronger than him. Just now, he could see that there were at least 3 people among Ling Xiao and the others who were stronger than him. 2 of them made him extremely fearful. One of them was definitely a low-level heavenly venerate, while he could not see through the other person's strength. However, he could feel that the other person was definitely not weaker than a low-level heavenly venerate. The Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps had many people, but the other party had the strength of 2 heavenly venerates. Even if there was only 1 heavenly venerate, it would be enough to destroy all of them. Therefore, he had to run away immediately. Otherwise, he would definitely die. He cursed Green Snake 10,000 times in his heart. What kind of people should not be provoked? Why did he have to provoke such a powerful person? He was sure that the other party was definitely from the central region. Otherwise, how could the other party be so powerful? It should be known that he basically knew all the heavenly venerates in the northwest and southern region. They were all old monsters who did not appear in the world. Naturally, they would not appear so casually. It was useless to think too much now. At this moment, he only had one thought, and that was to run away as fast as he could. However, the moment he ran away, someone had already chased after him. It was not a savage leopard that was chasing after him, but Poison Scorpion, who was at the same level as Flaming Snake. Poison Scorpion was one of the 5 great villains of the southern region. On the surface he looked like a gentle and elegant middle-aged man, but in fact, his means were impossible to guard against. You came and went in a hurry. Did you not put me, Poison Scorpion, in your eyes? Poison Scorpion was a 4-winged scorpion king. He waved the black fan in his hand casually and looked at Flaming Snake with contempt. You are one of the 5 great villains of the southern region, Poison Scorpion? Flaming Snake frowned and asked. The twin hammers on his back flew into his hands. The 5 great villains were famous. Naturally, Flaming Snake had heard of them. Of course I know. In that case, just surrender, Poison Scorpion said calmly. If it was 2 years ago, he might not have dared to yell at Flaming Snake like this. However, things were different now. He had obtained the 10,000-year stone emulsion that Ling Xiao had bestowed upon him. This was a top-grade liquid that even an Empyrean stage powerhouse would be envious of. It had cleansed his body once again, and his strength had already reached the peak of the Earth Sovereign stage. As long as he comprehended his own Tao and created his own small universe, becoming a heavenly venerable was just around the corner. Although Flaming Snake was also a high-level Earth Sovereign, it had not reached the pinnacle. Naturally, Flaming Snake's strength was weaker than his. This was also the reason why he dared to chase after Flaming Snake alone. Poison Sovereign, you should know that we are from the Blood Serpent Mercenary Group. Our leader has already broken through to the Heavenly Venerable stage a month ago. You should consider this carefully. Moreover, with your strength, it won't be easy for you to keep me here. Why don't you let me leave? Flaming Snake said faintly. I also want to let you go, Poison Scorpion said with a smile. Just as Flaming Snake was about to rejoice, Poison Scorpion said, Unfortunately, the young master's orders are hard to disobey. You should stay here. Since that's the case, then let's see who's stronger. Flaming Snake roared, and his aura surged. Balls of red energy formed a small storm that swept towards Poison Scorpion. Flaming Snake lifted his hammers and instantly appeared above Poison Scorpion, both hammers smashing down from above. An all-out attack from a high-level Earth Sovereign could even smash a mountain into smithereens. However, Poison Scorpion, who was below him, had a faint smile on his face. Just as the hammers smashed in front of Poison Scorpion, Flaming Snake's body convulsed, and his face turned green. He quickly retreated, glaring at Poison Scorpion as he roared, You poisoned me! Hee hee, it's too late to realize it now. Poison Scorpion laughed sinisterly, and the 4-winged Scorpion King beneath his feet began to move. As one of the 5 great fiends, Poison Scorpion's actions had always been ferocious, and his methods of killing had never been honorable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been called the 5 great fiends. The reason why Poison Scorpion was called the Poison Monarch was because of his extraordinary attainments in poison arts. Flaming Snake didn't recognize Poison Scorpion's identity at first. From the moment Poison Scorpion started talking to him, Poison Scorpion had already begun to spread his odorless poison gas. Thus, Flaming Snake had unknowingly fallen into his trap. As Flaming Snake retreated, he hurriedly took out an antidote and consumed it. However, Poison Scorpion had also taken advantage of his sluggish movements to bombard him. Waves of dense poison gas enveloped Flaming Snake. The four-winged Scorpion King beneath his feet didn't stay idle either, spewing out terrifying scorpion venom from its mouth. For a moment, the trees and spirit herbs beneath them began to wither. Flaming Snake used all his strength to activate his elemental light to repel the venom. Unfortunately, he didn't have the strength to do so. His body was still contaminated by quite a bit of poison gas, and his mind began to become muddled. Flaming Snake gritted his teeth and roared, "You forced me to do this! 1,010,000 hammers!" Flaming Snake counterattacked. His dual hammers were like meteorites as they smashed towards Poison Scorpion. On the other hand, Poison Scorpion didn't dare to slow down Flaming Snake's all-out counterattack. He split up from the four-winged Scorpion King and began to attack Flaming Snake from the left and right. Flaming Snake was the first to fall into Poison Scorpion's and the four-winged Scorpion King's attacks. Naturally, he was at a disadvantage. One could imagine what would happen to him. Not far away from the two of them, nearly 100 terrifying energy waves exploded one after another. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and the other 5 elemental spiritual energy kept exploding in this part of the world. Colorful energy balls formed a dazzling radiance in the sky. The mercenaries, merchants, and spirit beasts in the vicinity were all alarmed. In front of the battle, a young man wielding a demonic dual elemental longsword stared coldly at the fierce battle. His eyes were full of killing intent. It seemed that as long as he stared at someone, they would immediately die. The Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps had a large number of people, but only 3 of them had reached the Earth Emperor realm. On Ling Zhao's side, Kai Shiyue and Feng Xianyun were both at the intermediate Earth Emperor realm, so they could entangle these 3 people. The King Stage and Rank 4 Serpent Pythons of the Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps were a very terrifying force. Even an Earth Emperor realm expert would have a hard time facing them. As for Solitary Eagle, Li Kuanghu, and the other dozen people, they had no confidence in facing so many mercenaries and serpents. However, they had absolute loyalty to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had given them a death order. In this battle it was either you die or I die. Since that was the case, they harbored the thought of dying. Killing 1 is worth it, killing 2 is worth it. The dozen people's strong killing intent was aroused. Every time they made a move, they used all their strength. The people of the Blood Snake Mercenary Corps were not to be trifled with. They were all people who had been rolling in the mountains of death all year round. Their killing intent was much stronger than Solitary Eagle's and Li Kuanghu's. If the 2 forces collided, Solitary Eagle, Li Kuanghu, and the others would definitely die without a burial place. However, it was different with the addition of the Prodigal on their side. The Prodigal was already a rank 6 spirit beast, comparable to the strength of a heavenly venerable. He held a gun in his hand, like Prince Neza who had descended to the world. He flicked the snake spirit beasts one by one, so that the people of the Blood Snake Mercenary Corps could not surround Solitary Eagle and Li Kuanghu. On the contrary, the Prodigal's ferocity attracted the people of the Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps to besiege him. The Prodigal preferred to face the siege of 20 to 30 people. His whole body was flashing with a strong fire, and a set of noble scale armor appeared on his body. The scale armor was shining, thick and extraordinary. It was the scale armor of the Qilin clan. With the Prodigal's current strength, its scale armor was comparable to the defense of a high-grade spirit weapon. The attack of a king stage could not hurt it at all. Too weak, you are really too weak. It's really boring to kill you. The Prodigal waved his spear without any rules, turning the Blood Snake Mercenary Corps upside down. The pressure on Solitary Eagle, Li Kuanghu, and the others was greatly reduced. They saw the victorious Xu Guang again, and one by one, they killed the enemies with all their might. Even though they just stepped into the mid-stage king rank not too long ago, they'd cultivated the high-grade profound techniques provided by Ling Xiao, and they even had high-grade profound artifacts in their hands. So, even if they encountered an enemy that was stronger than them, they would still be able to resist for a while. Therefore, Although some of them were injured, their lives were not in any danger. The strongest in the group were, of course, Solitary Eagle and Li Kuanghu. Solitary Eagle cultivated two attributes at the same time. With his advantage in speed, he had already killed 2 people. At this moment, he was facing an opponent who was a level higher than him, and the 2 of them were equally matched. Li Kuanghu cultivated a set of blue-rank fist arts, and the gloves in his hands were the spirit weapons that Ling Xiao had exchanged with the Tang family. He had always been an outstanding person, and his cultivation level was even more stable than Lone Eagle's. Coupled with the spirit weapon glove, he had killed 3 king-stage martial artists with his fists. At this moment, he was simultaneously attacking a middle-stage king-stage martial artist and a low-stage king-stage martial artist, and he didn't show any signs of losing. Lang Shi, Wei Dyer, Bai Yushi, Tang Guang, and the 8 generals were fighting against their opponents, and it was hard to tell who was the weakest. Hua Xiaogui was, of course, the weakest. His strength was almost all accumulated by the accumulation of elixirs, and he did not cultivate any high-grade mystic skills. He could only rely on the powerful brown eerie fire to barely hold on. Of course, when they were facing the overwhelming attacks of their opponents, other than the prodigal who shared most of the pressure for them, there was still someone to protect them. After killing Green Snake, Ling Xiao did not have the chance to make a move. He seemed to be a bystander in this battle, paying attention to every corner of the battlefield. Once he discovered that his people were facing the threat of death, he would react immediately with his spiritual attack and kill the enemy. Solitary Eagle, Li Kuanghu, and the others sometimes did not understand how the enemies next to them died. But in the midst of the battle, they did not have the time to pay attention to other things. In addition, the old man who joined Ling Zhao's side and Kai Banyue were attacking the Earth Emperor Realm Warrior. The young woman's combat strength was also extraordinary. She held the spirit whip in her hand and displayed a powerful killing technique. The battle was chaotic, and the area within a few hundred meters was unbearable to look at. Chapter 5:15. No matter how the battle between kings developed, there would always be only one ending. Ling Xiao did not let Cruel Leopard participate in the slaughter. His purpose was to train his people and let them realize this cruel life of slaughter earlier. Only those who survived the slaughter time and time again would be the true kings. The battle between Earth Sovereign Realm experts was without suspense. Kai Xiaoyue and the old man besieged the middle stage Earth Sovereign of the Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps at the same time. At first, the middle stage Earth Sovereign of the Blood Serpent Mercenary Corps could barely hold on. However, the old man possessed a mid-tier 6th-rank spirit weapon and had an extremely rich battle prowess. He completely suppressed the mid-tier Earth Emperor of the Blood Wolf Mercenary Group, while the Rosy Glow Moon and the 5-color Divine Bird took the opportunity to kill his mount, the Yellow Flower Python. Without the help of the Yellow Flower Python, the middle stage Earth Sovereign had lost an arm. It was quite difficult for him to deal with the attacks of the 2. If it were not for his rich combat experience, he would have been defeated long ago. He now had the intention to retreat. He had already cursed the ancestors of the Flaming Snake 1,000 times in his heart. He believed that as long as the Flaming Snake did not retreat, they would not lose this battle. The middle stage Earth Sovereign roared. With him as the center, a powerful elemental light bloomed. Countless stone alls attacked the old man and Kai Xiaoyue respectively. This was already his most powerful attack. He wanted to use this attack to escape. After making this attack, he plunged into the jungle below. He cultivated the earth elemental attribute. Only on the ground could he show his greatest advantage. Stop him. He wants to escape underground. The old man exclaimed. The spiritual sword in his hand slashed out dozens of terrifying sword chi. Wherever the sword chi went, a large number of trees turned into powder. The ground was blasted into a bottomless pit. The middle stage Earth Sovereign's body was covered with layers of yellow light walls to block the sword chi. However, the light walls could not block the sword chi. He was still blasted and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His face was extremely pale. However, it was precisely because the old man's sword chi hit him that he quickly reached the ground. As long as he reached the ground, he could escape from there. Unfortunately, when he saw the dawn, his foot was tripped by something. It was a red horsetail whisk, made from extremely tough 1,000-year-old silk. Trying to escape? No way! Kai Xiaoyue cried out in alarm and pulled hard with her hand. The middle stage Earth Sovereign was pulled back into the air again. The old man seized this opportunity, and the spirit sword in his hand rippled with terrifying sword energy once again.
No!
The middle stage Earth Sovereign let out an unwilling roar. He tried his best to break free from Hong Fu. Unfortunately, it was all in vain.
Poop you!
The sword chi completely wrapped around the middle stage Earth Sovereign, instantly shredding him into pieces. In another direction, Feng Xianyun was fighting against two low-level earthly sovereigns all by herself. On the contrary, Ling Xiao was not optimistic about this battle, so he told Cruel Leopard not to be distracted at all. He had to keep an eye on Feng Xianyun's safety at all times, and absolutely could not let any accidents happen to her. Why would Ling Xiao be worried? Because Ling Xiao had never seen Feng Xianyun fight, and he also knew that before he brought Feng Xianyun out of Gu Sacrifice City, she had never gone outside, never fought with anyone, never killed anyone or spirit beasts. Although he knew that Feng Xianyun was stronger than those two, she definitely lacked combat experience. He was afraid that something unexpected would happen. But Ling Xiao was only half right. Feng Xianyun had been staying in Gu Sacrifice City since she was a child. Because she had the rare Heaven Gu body, she never needed to cultivate too hard, and her realm would rise very quickly. If it was before Feng Xianyun obtained the Heaven Gu Divine Exercise, her combat power might not be worth mentioning. However, she had now inherited the Heaven Gu Divine Exercise, which contained the most wonderful cultivation method and powerful offensive profound skill of the Gu race. A cultivation method that could be called God rank was an extremely terrifying existence. She faced the two low-level earthly sovereigns with a demonic scimitar in her hand. The hilt of the scimitar was inlaid with a colorful gem, and the body of the scimitar was engraved with a mysterious array pattern and a Gu worm pattern. This was a high-grade spirit weapon that had been preserved by the Gu race, called Ji Moon Saber. When she was cultivating the Heaven Gu Divine Exercise, the high priest passed it to her. When Ji Moon Saber appeared on her body, her entire body emitted a demonic aura that made people feel apprehensive. Traces of fear appeared in the bloodthirsty eyes of the two low-level earthly sovereigns, as if the beauty in front of them had suddenly turned into a terrifying primordial beast. That terrifying aura instantly shattered their confidence. They only had one thought, and that was to escape. This was the fearsomeness of the Heaven Gu Divine Exercise. It had a Tenbin divine ability called Fear. This Holy Gu's unique Tenbin divine ability could greatly reduce the opponent's confidence and combat power, thus defeating the opponent in one fell swoop. This Tenbin divine ability was only activated after Feng Xianyun cultivated the Heaven Gu Divine Exercise. Want to escape? A bloodthirsty glint flashed across Feng Xianyun's delicate face as she lightly waved the Ji Moon Saber in her hand. Swoosh swoosh. Two gray strange attribute attacks slashed towards the two low-level earthly sovereigns. The two low-level earthly sovereigns had grown up through countless slaughters. Although Feng Xianyun's Tenbin divine ability Fear made them flee without a fight, it was not to the extent of making them wait helplessly for death. At the same time, they took out their profound weapons to defend themselves. However, Feng Xianyun's attack was not so easy to block. Just after they blocked Feng Xianyun's attack, they were shaken to the point that they spat out a mouthful of blood. Feng Xianyun took the opportunity to wave her other hand lightly, and two extremely tiny Gu insects flew out from her clothes. The two were caught off guard, and the Gu insects drilled into their mouths. Following that, the two immediately let out miserable screams as they fell from the sky. The two kept crawling on the ground and screamed miserably. Not long after they died. Their deaths were filled with incomparable fear and despair, as if they could not rest in peace even after death. Even Savage Leopard was shocked by Feng Xianyun's means. Young madam is indeed worthy of the Heaven Gu body. In the future, she will definitely become a saint and enter the realm of God. Savage Leopard was extremely envious. It was also the first time that Ling Xiao had seen Feng Xianyun kill people so quickly. He could not help but feel that his worries just now were unnecessary. With Feng Xianyun's calm personality, once she revealed her killing intent and used the Heaven Gu Divine technique, even a high-level earthly sovereign would not be her match. Moreover, she was already at the peak of the middle earthly sovereign and would break through again soon. This was the terrifying existence of the Heaven Gu body. As the night deepened, the sounds of the battle gradually subsided. After a fierce battle in the middle of the night, not a single member of the Blood Wolf Mercenary Corps was left alive. On Ling Zhao's side, Lone Eagle, Li Kuanghu and a dozen other people were more or less injured. Among them, the most seriously injured was not Hua Xiaogue, who was not good at fighting, but by Yushi and Ji Beixin. Both of them were injured in many places by their opponents. Because they were too kind, they did not fight with their lives on the line and did not display their fighting strength. If it was not for Ling Xiao protecting them at all times, they would have died long ago. Wei Dyer supported Bai Yushi and said with a pained heart, "Yushi, are you all right?" Bai Yushi's face was extremely pale. She replied indifferently, "Sister Wei, I'm fine. Quickly go and see Sister Xing." Feng Xianyun rushed over and picked Ji Beixin up, then gave her a few healing pills. "Xiner, are you all right?" Feng Xianyun asked. Ji Beixin shook her head and said, "Sister Yuner, I'm fine." Kai Shuyue rushed over and looked at her two sisters with a pained expression. "Sigh, they all laughed at us and forbade us from participating in the battle. Otherwise, you guys definitely wouldn't have been injured." Kai Shuyue and the old man had already killed the middle-level earthly emperor, and Feng Xianyun had also killed two low-level earthly emperors in an instant. They had originally wanted to rescue Bai Yushi and Ji Beixin. However, Ling Xiao did not allow them to participate in the king-level battle. This caused them to be extremely anxious from the side. Seeing their own sisters injured, they also felt extremely distressed. "You guys go to the side and let the two of them heal on their own." Ling Xiao walked over and said faintly, "Xiao, their injuries are very serious. Let us take care of them here," Feng Xianyun said. Kai Shuyue also said, "That's right, we can help them recover quickly." "Didn't you hear what I said? Let the two of them recover on their own." Ling Xiao frowned and said loudly. Feng Xianyun, Kai Shuyue, and Wei Dyer's bodies all shook, and their beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. They couldn't understand why Ling Xiao was so heartless. "Sister Wei, are you? Let go of me, I can do it myself." Bai Yushi broke free from Wei Dyer's hand and sat down cross-legged. Ji Beixin also begged Feng Xianyun weakly, "Yun. Sister Yuner, let me down." The two heavily injured girls knew that they were dragging the group down. Facing Ling Xiao's indifference for the first time, they felt that they were useless, so they insisted on recovering as soon as possible. They didn't want to become a burden to everyone. The other three girls didn't know what to say, so they could only sigh softly and retreat to the side. The young girl who joined later looked at Ling Xiao unhappily and muttered, "Heartless man." The two girls each took a pill and used their spirit energy to recover their injured bodies. This was the first time they had suffered so many injuries. Even though they had taken healing pills, their recovery speed was still much slower than the others. 2 hours later, Ling Xiao frowned and said, "Hurry up and leave this place." The others gathered together, but only the two girls were still very weak. Feng Xianyun said in confusion, "Xiao, why do you want to leave in the middle of the night? Sister Xian and Yushi haven't recovered yet. The battle just now has alarmed all directions, and the blood energy here has also begun to spread. There should be a large number of spirit beasts rushing here now. If it wasn't for them, we would have left a long time ago." Ling Xiao explained indifferently. Then, he was the first to turn around and walk forward. Ling Xiao was the core of everyone, so when Ling Xiao spoke, the others immediately followed. Feng Xianyun, Kai Shuyue, and Wei Dyer were going to carry the two injured girls away. Unexpectedly, Ling Xiao turned around and said coldly, "Don't help them, let them go by themselves." Everyone felt that Ling Xiao's indifferent attitude was inconceivable. This was the first time they had seen Ling Xiao being so heartless. Chapter 5:16. Although there were many injured people in Ling Xiao's group, after 4 hours of recovery, they were able to continue on their journey. Only Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi were heavily injured for the first time. They had lost too much blood, and even though they had taken pills to recover, their recovery speed was still very slow. Therefore it was very difficult for them to move. The others felt extremely uncomfortable when they saw them clenching their teeth and persevering. These were two delicate women. Feng Xianyun pulled Ling Xiao's hand and said, "Xiao, forget it, let us carry them." "Whoever carries them, don't follow us anymore," Ling Xiao said indifferently. Feng Xianyun was stunned. She really didn't expect that Ling Xiao, who had always loved them, would say such heartless words. Kai Shuyue and Wei Dyer's bodies and minds trembled. They both asked in their hearts, "Why does he seem to have become a different person?" After walking for a while, Someone finally couldn't stand it anymore. Big sisters, I'll take you away. The young woman who joined Ling Xiao walked towards Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi. Looking at their pale and powerless appearance, the young woman hated Ling Xiao to the core. How can you abuse women like this? Are you still a man? Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi didn't know that this young woman was a woman. They had always thought that she was a man, but she was now a woman dressed as a man. They quickly dodged the young woman's help and shouted, "Young master, please behave yourself." The two women also staggered and fell down when they dodged. Aya! The two women fell to the ground at the same time. The wounds on their bodies were torn open, and several of them were bleeding. Big sisters, are you all right? The young woman wanted to help the two women again. The two women shouted at the same time, "Don't come over. If you come over again, we won't be polite." Although they felt wronged, they only had Ling Xiao in their hearts. How could they have skin contact with another man in front of their own man? If Ling Xiao didn't want them anymore, what should they do? Sisters, don't be afraid. He doesn't care about you, but I care about you. Starting tonight, you're my people. Let's see who dares to bully you. The young woman waved her hand. She had decided to save these two beautiful sisters from the jaws of death. She would never let them be defiled by that hateful man again. Yi, come back here. The old man appeared in front of the young woman in an instant and grabbed her hand. The old man had just seen the strength of this group of people. Each and every one of them was so terrifying. Right now, they needed someone to escort them away, so it was not good for them to cause more trouble. He didn't want his miss to make that young man angry. Otherwise, he would kill both of them, and that would be troublesome. Grandpa Wei, why are you afraid of him? Wait until we return to Yi City. The young woman was clearly very delicate. She shook off the old man's hand with dissatisfaction. Before she could finish, the old man shouted sternly, "Yezi, if you continue to make trouble, Grandpa will leave you alone." When the young woman heard this, she was very dissatisfied. However, she still didn't give up and said to Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi, "Sisters, think about it. Do you want to follow me? I'm not afraid of him." The two women shook their heads and looked at the young woman with a bit of disgust. Although they knew that she wanted to help them, they couldn't get used to hearing this person target Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao walked over and looked at the two women sitting on the ground. "Do you want to follow her? If you do, you can leave with her now. I definitely won't make things difficult for you." The two women's bodies trembled, and Bai Yushi's tears flowed out. She cried, "Yushi is young master's person in life, and young master's ghost in death. Young master, don't leave me behind." After saying that, she endured the pain and crawled up from the ground. Ji Beixin's beautiful eyes also flowed with tears, but she didn't say anything. She just gritted her teeth and got up. At this moment, the young woman couldn't help but point at Ling Xiao and shout, "Are you even a man? Don't you even know how to have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex? Speak, if there's any condition for them to follow me, I'll agree to it." Ling Xiao glanced at the young woman and said, "This has nothing to do with you, Scram." The young woman still wanted to say something, but the old man quickly grabbed her hand and ran away. He definitely couldn't let her say anything else. "Do you feel wronged?" Ling Xiao looked at the two women and asked indifferently. The two women only lowered their heads and didn't dare to speak, tears flowing down their faces. It would be a lie to say that they didn't feel wronged. This was the first time they had been treated coldly by Ling Xiao, and they were wondering if Ling Xiao was looking down on them. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. The anger in his heart finally erupted. "Do the two of you know how big of a mistake you made before?" Ling Xiao asked loudly. At this time, everyone's attention was focused on him. After being shouted at by Ling Xiao, the two women felt even more wronged in their hearts. Ling Xiao's face was extremely gloomy as he faintly said, "During the battle just now, why did you show mercy to the enemy? Do you know that if it wasn't for me watching over you, you would have died countless times? If one day I'm not by your side, and you're in danger, would you still not dare to kill the enemy? I know that they are kind women, but this kind of kindness also depends on the person. I know that they're all kind women, but this kind of kindness depends on how you treat it. When facing an enemy, you have to kill them to win, or else you'll be the one to die. If you die, that's fine, but if you do that, you'll implicate your friends. With one less opponent, they'll have more power. After they kill you, they'll surround and attack their friends, and in the end, it'll be our people who die. After listening to Ling Xiao's words, the two women's faces instantly became even paler. They weren't stupid women, and they immediately understood what Ling Xiao was saying. Ling Xiao was right. If they didn't kill the enemy, they would be the ones who died. After the enemy killed them, they would have more power to deal with their own people. Then, because of their kindness, they would implicate their own people, and in the end, they might even be completely annihilated. After thinking through this, they realized that because of their so-called kindness, many people would die with them. Young master. I'm sorry. Bai Yuxi shook her head and said. Then her body softened. Ji Beixin wasn't any better. She was about to fall down like Bai Yuxi. Ling Xiao's heart ached, and he quickly hugged the two girls in his arms. Then, he put the two girls down against the tree trunk and gently wiped the tears off their faces. Then, he fed them 2 high-level healing pills. Then, he sighed softly. Do you think I was too fierce to you? Bai Yuxi waved her hand from the side and said, Young master, you're right. We were wrong. Ji Beixin shook her head lightly and said, Xiao, I know you're right. We were too naive. If it wasn't for you guys not being present, we might have implicated everyone. I'm sorry. It's good that you can recognize this. This is also the first time you've killed someone. I forced you too much, but this is a world where the weak eat the weak. In the future, when you two walk around the central region, with your appearances, it will be very easy for you two to cause trouble. If I'm not by your side, then you two will be the ones to suffer. All right, now that you can understand my painstaking efforts, I didn't waste my expression. Ling Xiao said very tenderly. He was now explaining it slowly, letting them understand the cruelty of reality and the rules of survival. Seeing the two girls injured, it would be strange if his heart didn't ache. The women here were all his lifeblood. The two girls felt Ling Xiao's true intentions, and their hearts became happy again, as if the wounds on their bodies no longer hurt so much. The people not far away finally understood the change in Ling Xiao. Each of them thought about Ling Xiao's words and felt that Ling Xiao was right. Feng Xianyun, Kai Shiyue, and Wei Dyer also knew that they had wronged Ling Xiao, so they hurriedly walked over to apologize to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao hugged them lightly and said, Remember, you are all the people I love the most. I don't want to see any harm come to you, so when I'm not by your side in the future, you must learn to protect yourself, so that I won't worry about you. Husband, don't worry, the sisters all understand. In the future, I and Yunmei will definitely teach them well and not be bullied by others. Kai Shiyue was the oldest among the girls, and she was also called Big Sister by the girls. Of course, she had to play a leading role. Yes, they are still young, don't force them too much. If they are disfigured, it seems that you will be the one who will feel sorry. Wei Dyer rolled her eyes at Ling Xiao and said, All right, you guys carry them, we will rest a little further in front, Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. The girls agreed, and Wei Dyer immediately carried Bai Yuxi on her back. Feng Xianyun and Kai Shiyue fought to carry Ji Beixin. In the end, the two of them could only take a step back, each carrying a section of the road. Not far away, the old man and the young woman saw all of this. The old man stroked his beard and praised, This young man has a way. The young woman on the side was even more dissatisfied. She immediately turned her head and said, He is a heartless man. He only knows how to deceive those beautiful sisters. When I get back, I will definitely ask my father to snatch those sisters over and make them my sisters. Young master, lower your voice. It will not be good if others hear you. You should speak less now. Whether we can return to Kargolic depends on others, the old man said in a low voice. Grandpa Wei, you are afraid of trouble, the young woman said unhappily. The old man laughed dryly and did not speak any more. He sighed in his heart. Serving the young lady is really a hard job. After that, Ling Xiao and the others continued to hurry on their way. Ji Beixin and Bai Yuxi's expressions were obviously much better than last night, and they insisted on walking on their own without the help of others. Last night, Ling Xiao's words gave them a great inspiration. They had to learn to be strong and independent and survive. They would definitely not be a burden to their men anymore. Sisters, let me help you walk. A beautiful and refined unfamiliar woman appeared in front of the two girls and said. The two girls immediately became vigilant. They had never seen this woman before. Chapter 5:17. Standing in front of the two girls was a young woman who was no less beautiful than them. This woman was in her 20s, and her facial features were exquisite. Her slim figure was like a blooming flower, pleasing to the eye. Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi looked at this woman and felt that she looked familiar, but they couldn't remember where they had seen her before. The young woman smiled lightly and said, "Don't you two sisters recognize me?" She deliberately lowered her voice when she said this, and her tone was like a man's. The two girls suddenly understood, and Bai Yushi said, You are young Master Yi?" "Hee, that's right. Actually, I am a woman dressed as a man." The young woman chuckled. This woman was the tomboy who joined Ling Zhao's group with the old man. Her name was Yi Shuiqing, and the old man was not her grandfather, but a consecrated elder of her family. After Ji Beixin and Bai Yushi knew that Yi Shuiqing was a girl, their attitude became much better, and they quickly became familiar with her. Feng Xianyun, Kai Shayue, and Wei Dai are also joined in the chat. After Yi Shuiqing became familiar with the girls, she secretly made up her mind, "I must persuade these sisters to leave that heartless man." Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know Yi Shuiqing's plan. When he saw the tomboy change back into women's clothes, he sighed in his heart. This girl is not bad, but it's a pity that her temper is a bit bad. The old man walked in front of Ling Xiao and laughed dryly. "Little brother, my granddaughter was forced to disguise as a man, please don't mind her." The old man's name was Wei Linlin, and he was afraid that Ling Xiao would be angry because of their concealment. "Forget it, your disguise skills are too mediocre. Anyone with a discerning eye would know," Ling Xiao said with a wave of his hand. He then asked, "Sir, can you tell me more about the situation over there?" "Over there? You mean the central region?" Wei Linlin was stunned for a moment and asked. Ling Xiao nodded lightly and said, "Yes, this is our first time going to the central region, so we don't know much about it." Wei Linlin smacked his lips and looked at Ling Xiao with an incredulous expression. He'd always thought that Ling Xiao and the others were from the central territory like them. He'd never expected that he'd actually guessed wrong. He muttered in his heart, "Since when did such a handsome young man appear in this remote place? Could it be that he's a descendant of some ancient hidden power?" "Can sir explain?" Ling Xiao interrupted Wei Linlin's strange thoughts. Wei Linlin came back to his senses and said with a smile, "Of course, no problem. What kind of things do you want to hear?" "Anything is fine. Anyway, I don't know anything about it. I'll learn as much as I can so that I don't run into a spy over there," Ling Xiao said humbly. "Okay, since you want to hear it, I'll tell you briefly," Wei Linlin nodded and replied. As they traveled, Wei Linlin gave Ling Xiao a simple explanation of the situation in the Central Territory. After listening to Wei Linlin's explanation for half a day, Ling Xiao finally had a vague impression of the Central Territory. The Central Territory was vast and there were many powers. 8th and 9th rank sects like those in the northwest and the south could be found everywhere. But these powers could only be considered to be at the bottom of the list. 7th rank sects were also extremely common, and only 6th rank sects could be considered to be mid-level powers. The strongest sects were naturally 4th and 5th rank sections. They could be said to be fully deserving of being the overlords of the Central Territory. Apart from the sects, there were also many large clans that were not weaker than the sections. Some of them were even slightly stronger. For example, some ancient families and hidden families were comparable to the 4th or 5th rank sections. They all represented the peak powers in the Central Territory. And among all these powers, there were 18 powers that were fully deserving of being giants in the Central Territory. No matter where their people walked in the Central Territory, others would have to treat them with respect. These 18 powers were the 10 4th-rank sects and the 8 ancient families. There was a popular saying in the Central Territory, 1 pavilion and 2 sects shake the heavens and earth, 3 families and 4 sects shake the mountains and rivers, wind and rain gather in all directions, the Central Territory shakes the universe. 1 pavilion referred to the martial spirit court, 2 sects referred to the black demon sect and the medicine sect, 3 families referred to the Dongfang, Ouyang, and Shangguan ancient families. 4 sects referred to the purple thunder sect, the broken sword sect, the Wanhua sect, and the ghost nether sect, and the remaining 8 powers referred to the Gu, Lu, Gu, Bu, and Feng ancient families, as well as the spirit night palace, the mysterious heaven pavilion, and the Yin Yang sect. These 18 great powers represented the pinnacle existences of the central region. Any martial artist would keep a respectful distance from the people of the 18 great forces. Of course, other than these 18 powers, there were also many powerful sects and clans. Although they could not compare to the 18 powers, they were not to be trifled with. These powers occupied almost all of the central territory, and most of the cultivation resources were in their hands. Anyone who wanted to become stronger had to join these powers in order to obtain better cultivation resources. After listening to Wei Linlin, Ling Xiao asked, "Which sect or family do you belong to, sir?" Wei Linya replied, "Our place is only a small place. It won't be long after we cross the Blood Demon region. That's the Yi family city, which is controlled by the Yi family." "I see. Sir, you and that young lady should be from the Yi family, right?" Ling Xiao asked straightforwardly. Wei Linlin smiled and nodded. There was no need to hide this, but he had a different thought in his mind. "Little brother, if you want to experience the central territory, why not come to our Yi family city after we cross the Blood Demon region? With your strength, the Yi family will not treat you badly," Wei Linya said. No matter which power it was, they would do their best to disturb some powerful rogue cultivators to expand their own power. After all, there were many cultivation resources in the central territory that had to be fought over. If one did not have the strength, then they could only starve. Haha, we'll talk about it after we cross the Blood Demon region." Ling Xiao avoided the question. He didn't plan on relying on any power to live. "All right, we can't rush this matter." The old man rubbed his hands. At this time, Ling Xiao asked, "Sir, have you heard of the Dragon Water sect?" Finding Yun Mingqi was Ling Xiao's top priority, so he had to find out where the Dragon Water sect was so that he could find her in the future. Dragon Water sect? Wei Linya muttered to himself for a moment, then shook his head. "I think I've heard of it somewhere, but I can't remember." Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. Could it be that the Dragon Water sect is a small sect? If that's the case, wouldn't finding Mingqi be like finding a needle in a haystack? "Little brother, why do you want to find the Dragon Water sect?" Wei Linya asked. Could it be that they want to join the Dragon Water sect? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "I have a friend who became the disciple of an elder of the Dragon Water sect. I just want to go and see her." "So that's how it is," Wei Linya replied, then said, "Little brother, don't worry. As long as you escort us through the Blood Demon region and return to the clan, I should be able to find some information about the Dragon Water sect in some ancient books. I'll tell you when the time comes." Ling Xiao was overjoyed and immediately replied, "Don't worry, I will definitely escort you all to Yi Family City." While Ling Xiao and Wei Linya were chatting happily, Yi Shuiqing was also chatting passionately with Ling Xiao's women. However, from time to time, that girl would provoke Ling Xiao and say that her family was very good. If the girls were willing, they could live in her house and be her sisters. However, every time she spoke ill of Ling Xiao, the girls would be unhappy and even ignore her. This made Yi Shuiqing very depressed. She muttered in her heart, "What's so good about this heartless man? How can he compare to my brother? It would be great if they were all my sisters-in-law." Yi Shuiqing no longer asked for a rebuff from her failure to sow discord. She only chatted with the girls about some interesting things. The group of people traveled for 5 days in a row. Nothing unexpected happened along the way. Occasionally, they would meet some merchants and mercenaries who were going back and forth from here. When they saw that there were a few top-grade beauties in Ling Zhao's group, they were all attracted to them and drooled. However, they also knew that Ling Zhao's group was extremely strong, so no one dared to provoke them. As they went deeper and deeper, Ling Xiao felt that the aura of the surrounding spirit beasts was getting stronger and stronger, and everyone became even more vigilant. Even though it was rare for spirit beasts to attack them along this path, there were times when accidents would happen. Night fell once again and the moonlight quietly shone down. The forest seemed to be draped with a mysterious veil, making it look very beautiful. However, under this beautiful night sky, it was accompanied by the angry roars of spirit beasts. Ling Xiao and the others were just about to rest when they heard the roars and immediately gathered together. At this moment, 2 people hurriedly ran out from the other side of the night. There was also a huge spirit beast chasing after them. It was a 5th-rank high-rank red roller cloud tiger. It was a fire-type spirit beast and was extremely ferocious and warlike. However, it rarely attacked humans. However, It was not known if the two people had stolen the spiritual herb that it was guarding, which was why it was so angry. Its huge body was like a fire and wind when it ran, and everywhere it went, trees would be destroyed by it. When the two people saw Ling Xiao and the others, they immediately ran towards them. Needless to say, they planned to use Ling Xiao and the others to get rid of the red roller cloud tiger. These two people were quite bold. They were only at the high-level king stage, but they actually dared to stroke the whiskers of the red roller cloud tiger. They really did not want to live anymore. Roar! The red roller cloud tiger roared loudly, causing the leaves around it to fall. The two people were so scared that their legs almost turned to jelly. One of them cried out, "Help! Help! Damn it, why did they come here?" Poison Scorpion immediately got ready to block the red roller cloud tiger. "Everyone retreat!" Ling Xiao shouted. Most of the people quickly retreated to Ling Xiao's side, while Cruel Leopard, Wastrel, and Poison Scorpion stood by Ling Xiao's side to protect him. With their strength, they were not afraid of the red roller cloud tiger. The two people were not so lucky. Before they could reach Ling Xiao and the others, they were attacked by the flames from the red roller cloud tiger's mouth and burned. The two people howled and rolled on the ground, and finally died in front of everyone. The two people's deaths did not seem to appease the red roller cloud tiger. It actually attacked Ling Xiao and the others. Chapter 5:18. The red cirrus cloud tiger was the king of the forest. It had always been disdainful of humans and rarely took the initiative to attack humans. The two of them must have done something to enrage it to make it so angry. Those two people were killed by it, but they still wanted to attack Ling Xiao and the others. It thought that Ling Xiao and the others must be companions of those two people. Roar! The red cirrus cloud tiger roared, and its huge body pounced towards Ling Xiao. The raging flames on its body illuminated the surroundings with a bright red glow. "Young master, step back, I'll deal with it." Poison Scorpion took the lead and stood in front of Ling Xiao, ready to attack. However, there were two figures faster than him. Bang! Everyone only saw a blur, and the red cirrus cloud tiger flew far away like a cannonball. Its body smashed into the trees, crushing dozens of them. "You dare to touch my boss, I'll kill you." The one who sent the red cirrus cloud tiger flying was the prodigal. Cruel Leopard, who was beside him, was shocked, and the others were even more shocked. They didn't know where Ling Xiao suddenly had this little brother, but from the time he killed the people from the Blood Wolves mercenary corps, they all knew that he was very powerful. However, they didn't expect him to be even more terrifying than a 5th-rank high-tier spirit beast. That was equivalent to a high-level Earth Emperor. A high-level Earth Emperor could dominate a region in the northwest or southern region. However, he couldn't block a punch from the prodigal. One could imagine how strong the prodigal was. Without another word, the prodigal chased after the escaping red-rolled cloud tiger. His skinny and small fists contained a terrifying amount of energy. After 2 consecutive punches, the red-rolled cloud tiger was like a dead tiger on its last breath. It no longer looked as majestic as it was just now. Cruel Leopard's heart was a little numb. He really didn't understand why the young master could receive such a powerful younger brother. Faintly, he was even more in awe of Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao's strength was more formidable than his, then it would be a matter of course for Ling Xiao to be able to subdue a lackey like this. However, Ling Xiao was only at the high-stage king rank, yet he had always exceeded everyone's expectations. For example, Poison Scorpion, Kai Xiaoyu, and Feng Xianyun were all stronger than his young master, yet all of them were willing to follow by his side. It could only be said that Ling Xiao had an irresistible charm that could make them give up. Savage Leopard's heart quietly changed. Perhaps he really is a master worthy of me following for the rest of my life. The former overlord of the demon sect was finally willing to acknowledge Ling Xiao as his master. Ling Xiao had half of his spirit power, and could immediately sense the subtle changes in the savage leopard, revealing an imperceptible smile. However, other than the savage leopard, Poison Scorpion also felt a strong sense of danger once again. He felt that even his position as a servant seemed to have suffered a serious blow. As the number of experts by Ling Xiao's side increased, his usefulness also decreased. What if one day the young master neglected him? Other than the two of them, there were also Lone Eagle, Li Kuanghu, and the others. Just like them, they all realized that their strength was too weak, and a sense of danger arose involuntarily. They all clenched their fists and secretly decided to increase their strength as soon as possible. They absolutely wouldn't be the weakest person by the young master's side. The prodigal's unintentional attack had imperceptibly created a kind of pressure on Ling Xiao's subordinates, a pressure that made them constantly strive to become stronger, a pressure that made them afraid of being eliminated. Just as the prodigal was about to kill the red roller cloud tiger, Ling Xiao called out to him, "Zizai, don't kill it." The prodigal put down his fist in confusion and looked at Ling Xiao. "Boss, what's the use of keeping it? I want to eat it." Ling Xiao waved his hand at him and shouted, "Where is Guanghu?" Li Guanghu quickly came out from behind and knelt on one knee. "Here." Previously, when Ling Xiao called for people, he didn't need them to kneel, but now Li Guanghu was kneeling. It could be seen that his reverence for Ling Xiao had become incomparable. "Who told you to kneel? Get up." Ling Xiao frowned slightly. Ling Xiao didn't like the feeling of being above everyone. He liked to mingle with his own people, and master and servant could also become friends and brothers. "Yes, young master." Li Guanghu responded and immediately stood up straight like a spear. "Do you want it?" Ling Xiao asked as he pointed at the red roller cloud tiger. Li Guanghu's body and mind trembled, and his tiger eyes revealed excitement as he said, "Yes." "Good, then it's yours now." "Zizi, let it recognize Guanghu as its master," Ling Xiao said straightforwardly. "Thank you, young master." Li Guanghu was about to kneel again. However, Ling Xiao glared at him and said, "Don't kneel in front of me again." Li Guanghu didn't insist. He knew that Ling Xiao was a man of his word. Just as Li Guanghu was about to make the red roller cloud tiger recognize him as its master, the prodigal said with some dissatisfaction, "Boss, why do you want this kind of trash? If you want a higher level one, I can go back to the clan and summon them." Ling Xiao naturally knew what the prodigal was talking about, but he couldn't accept it and lightly shook his head. The prodigal didn't insist, so he kicked the dying red roller cloud tiger twice and made it spit out the beast core. Lone Eagle, Cold Snake, and the 8 generals all looked at Li Guanghu with envy. They didn't have any spirit beasts to protect them. They had wanted to subdue one for a long time, but they couldn't find one that was suitable for them. Even if they found one that was suitable for them, their levels weren't symmetrical. Li Guanghu was only at the mid-stage king stage, but he was able to obtain a 5th stage red roller cloud tiger. In their eyes, it was really a trap that fell from the sky. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not refuse such a spirit beast. And all of this was given to them by their young master. They only knew that only by following their young master, they would definitely be able to go further in the future. Wei Linlin and Yi Shuiqing also saw this, and their impression of Ling Xiao improved. Wei Linlin was purely admiring him, but he also felt that it was too unrealistic for the Yi family to disturb such a talented young leader. On the other hand, Yi Shuiqing thought that Ling Xiao was acting and felt that he was very hypocritical. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't have time to care about what they were thinking. Once again, he led everyone away from the place and chose another quiet place to rest. After being stationed overnight, everyone consciously found their own positions and protected the girls in the center, in case any spirit beasts appeared at night. Ling Xiao knew that it was useless for them to do this. Because of the prodigal boy, they would be the first to notice if a spirit beast attacked. However, Ling Xiao wouldn't dampen their enthusiasm. Only when they had this kind of high vigilance at all times could they live longer in the future. Ling Xiao chose a quiet place to sit down and let the prodigal boy protect him. After he sat down cross-legged, there was a spirit herb that was as clear as jade in his hand. This was a 5th stage soul herb, which Ling Xiao found in the desolate mountains. Now, he had already cultivated the 1st stage of the soul-controlling art to a large extent, and the only thing he could do was to accumulate spirit fluid. Sometimes he thought, if only I could obtain the next 2 stages of the art. The power of the soul-controlling art made Ling Xiao intoxicated. That mysterious method of killing the enemy invisibly made him feel extremely good. He really wanted to know what was so magical about the power of the next 2 stages of the art. Ling Xiao set up a restriction at the hole that he opened up, then took out the medicine cauldron and prepared to refine the soul-nourishing pill. He had already advanced to a 5th stage alchemist for almost 2 years, and his refining methods were also becoming more and more adept. The spirit herbs kept flying up one after another. Every stalk of spirit grass exuded a dense and pure energy fluctuation, forming a cluster of colorful light above the cauldron, appearing so bright and beautiful. Ling Xiao casually slapped out the blue demon flame. The flame agilely burned the medicine cauldron, and the scorching temperature quickly scorched the spirit herbs and shriveled them. The essence of the spirit herbs fell into the medicine cauldron like rain. Ling Xiao's entire person seemed to be so focused, but his expression revealed a calm demeanor. The compatibility between the blue demon flame and him was already getting higher and higher. As long as Ling Xiao willed it, the intensity of the fire could be completely controlled to the extreme perfection. Before long, those dozens of spirit herbs all turned into nothingness, and the medicine cauldron had an additional cluster of sticky essence. Ling Xiao did not hesitate and threw a beast core in his hand into the medicine cauldron. A fifth-stage beast core had a lot of energy and was very explosive. The slightest carelessness would cause the cauldron to explode. Once this kind of situation occurred, if the medicine cauldron was not good and the cultivation was not high, even an alchemist would be seriously injured or die from the explosion. This was also why the higher the grade of the alchemist, the higher the cultivation needed to be of the same level to refine. 4 hours passed, and the medicine cauldron gave off a muffled explosion sound. Following that, a strong pill fragrance wafted out. Ling Xiao did not need to look to know that the pill was formed, but he did not know how many pills this cauldron could condense. After the smoke dissipated, Ling Xiao finally saw the medicinal pills in the medicine cauldron. He exclaimed in pleasant surprise, 3 pills in 1 cauldron. Finally a little improvement. Ever since the cauldron's soul told him before that to refine medicinal pills below tier 7, a cauldron could condense up to 10 pills at most. Ling Xiao had been working hard to execute every step to the utmost perfection, fully utilizing the essence of the spirit herbs as much as possible. Originally, he could only refine 2 fifth-stage medicinal pills in 1 cauldron. Now that he had 1 more, it already represented that he had improved a step further. Ling Xiao curbed his excited mood, took out a soul-replenishing pill and threw it into his mouth, then sat down cross-legged. Another night passed, and the east gradually rose into the sky. Ling Xiao walked out of the cave entrance. There was not the slightest hint of fatigue on his face. Instead, he appeared to be even more spirited. Although the soul-replenishing pill was an elixir that could increase one's spiritual power, its strong medicinal effects still increased Ling Xiao's strength by a few notches. Now Ling Xiao's strength had unknowingly reached the mid-stage of high-level king tier, and his spiritual power had also reached a frightening level. It was probably comparable to the mystic Thearka's spiritual sea. However, his spiritual power was much stronger than the mystic Thearka's. Perhaps only a top-notch 7th-stage alchemist could compare. Therefore, as long as Ling Xiao's strength and cultivation increased, he would be able to steadily become a 7th-stage alchemist. Chapter 519. In the Blood Demon territory, there were dense forests, spirit beasts, and exotic flowers and plants. On a path, more than 10 people were hurrying along. There were both men and women in this group. They looked different from merchants, but they were not mercenaries. They were just passers-by on their way to the central region. This was Ling Xiao's group. They had been in the Blood Demon territory for 12 days and had reached the heart of the territory. In these 2 days, they had been attacked by 3 waves of spirit beasts. Fortunately, their group was strong, and those spirit beasts became practice targets for them. On this day, they came to a lake. The dark green lake water seemed so quiet and mysterious. The reflections of the surrounding trees in the lake water were clear and easy to see. It was as if there was a beautiful natural scroll on the surface of the lake, making people feel very comfortable when they looked at it. When the girls saw the lake, they almost screamed. They had not bathed for a long time, and their bodies were very uncomfortable. Now, this lake seemed to be a gift from the heavens, making them feel very comfortable and happy. Everyone found a shady spot by the lake and sat down. Ling Xiao ordered someone to roast some spirit beast meat for them to eat. The prodigal and the golden wolf king loved to eat roasted meat. The meat was not cooked yet, but they were already drooling. Everyone had also eaten a lot of dried meat along the way, and suddenly there was some roasted meat. Everyone's appetite was aroused. The 2 spirit beasts, which were a few meters long, were all eaten in a short time. The prodigal and the golden wolf king ate 1.5, while the others ate quite a lot. Ling Xiao ate the most. He found that the spirit beast meat he ate still had a lot of spirit energy. Maybe because the spirit beast was of a higher level, it filled his dantian a little. He felt that if he ate spirit beast meat all year round, his strength would slowly increase even without cultivation. In the evening, the red sky shone on the surface of the lake, making it look very lively. Feng Xianyun sat beside Ling Xiao and said in a low voice, "Xiao, we want to bathe." After saying this, Feng Xianyun's tender and beautiful face blushed, like the most enchanting orchid, making people want to kiss her. Ling Xiao took the opportunity to pull her into his arms. He kissed her on the cheek and said, "Later. I'll guard you guys before you wash up." Feng Xianyun nodded lightly, then leaned on Ling Xiao's shoulder and said faintly, "I miss Tian'er." Ling Xiao's heart trembled slightly. He said, "What's there to think about that troublemaker? He's always playing tricks on people." In fact, although he said that, he actually missed that little fellow very much. He felt that other than being a little mischievous, the kid had completely inherited his good tradition. "Humph, you don't act like a father at all. Tian'er has said that you bullied him many times," Feng Xianyun said with her pink lips pouting like a little girl. Ling Xiao sighed softly. "A jade that's not cut is worthless. He's too smart now. If we pamper him too much, who knows what kind of little demon king he'll become in the future." "You're right. In short, after I settle down, I want another child," Feng Xianyun said shyly. She had already tasted the happiness of being a mother for the first time, but now that she couldn't bring her son with her, she wanted another child. Her personality was different from Ling Xiao's. She liked to live a peaceful life. Ling Xiao could feel Feng Xianyun's state of mind, and his heart softened for no reason. He felt that he was asking too much of his women. He thought that perhaps after he found a place, he would let them live happily. Not everyone was like him, chasing after peerless martial power. Feng Xianyun, Ji Beixin, and Bai Yushi were the kind of people who didn't compete with others. Perhaps it was not suitable for them to participate in this kind of fighting and killing. "All right, since you're all kind women, I'll take care of them. When the time comes, I'll just recruit a large number of high-ranking guards to protect them." Ling Xiao made up his mind. His mentality had also changed because of Feng Xianyun's words. Of course, it wasn't that he wouldn't persuade them to cultivate because of this, but he would try his best to let them participate less in those kinds of fighting days. The night began to deepen, and the surroundings became pitch black. The moon seemed to know what was going to happen next, and it hid in the clouds and didn't come out. Kai Sheyue, Feng Xianyun, Ji Beixin, Bai Yushi, Wei Dyer, and Yi Shuiqing walked to a remote corner of the lake like a blooming flower. Behind them was the Golden Wolf King, and on the Wolf King's head was a miniature version of a blue flood dragon. The wolf and dragon were for their protection. Spirit beasts were different from humans, and they felt different when they looked at humans, so there was no need to worry about them peeping at the women. In fact, if it wasn't for Yi Shuiqing, Ling Xiao really wanted to go down and play with them. These women were all his, but he still hadn't experienced what it felt like to sleep with so many people. Women's daily movements were slow, and it actually took more than an hour to take a bath. Just when Ling Xiao was getting a little impatient, there was a scream. Ah! The sound almost cut through the sky and tore the night apart. The people not far away from Ling Xiao wanted to move, but Ling Xiao ordered, "You guys stay where you are, I'll go over and take a look." What a joke. How could he let other men see his own women? He was only worried about the safety of his women, and he didn't care about the fact that there was another woman who wasn't his. Ling Xiao instantly arrived above the bathing women and asked anxiously, "What happened?" Ling Xiao almost fell from the sky when he saw the beautiful women with their upper bodies half naked. The beauty of the bathing picture could not be described with words, not to mention that the women here were all outstanding beauties. "There's something strange at the bottom of the lake." Sister Shuiqing was pulled down by something. Kai Sheyue shouted. At this time, the women flew out of the lake one after another and quickly put on their clothes. Ling Xiao's gaze fell on them, and he almost forgot what he was going to do. He only felt his nose heat up, and bright red snot sprayed out. Feng Xianyun said coquettishly, "What are you looking at? Go and save them." Ling Xiao moved his gaze away with great difficulty, wiped the blood from his nose, and plunged into the lake. The cool lake water instantly restored Ling Xiao's clarity. Ling Xiao immediately took out the water avoidance pearl, and the 2 meters of water in the lake automatically avoided him. Ling Xiao's green eyes instantly focused, and he could see everything at the bottom of the lake very clearly, as if there was no obstruction at all. Ling Xiao quickly found Yi Shuiqing's position, and he saw that she seemed to be bound by something and had been struggling hard. Her expression was extremely flustered, as if she was about to go crazy. However, Ling Xiao didn't notice any of this. He only noticed Yi Shuiqing's perfect and flawless body, the proud and upright virgin peaks, The two bright red flowers, the smooth and jade-like skin, the slender waist like a thin willow, the lower abdomen without the slightest bit of fat, the mysterious fragrant grass, and the round but not fat legs, all of which showed her charming and proud capital. It had been a while since Ling Xiao had touched a woman. Although the girls had always been by his side, he had been constantly on the road and hadn't had the time to have fun. Now that he suddenly saw such an erotic scene, Ling Xiao's blood boiled all over his body. The red nosebleed that had just stopped just now flew out again, and the firm part of his lower body had already swelled up greatly. At this time, Yi Shuiqing seemed to have sensed Ling Xiao's existence, and her flustered eyes looked towards Ling Xiao's side. She opened her mouth to call for help, but unexpectedly, the water poured into her mouth, choking her and making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Seeing that Yi Shuiqing was about to be pulled away by that thing, Ling Xiao slapped himself. Damn it, why is this young master's willpower so weak? Then, Ling Xiao quickly rushed towards Yi Shuiqing's position. He saw a blue vine wrapped around her calf, and Ling Xiao slashed out a wind blade without hesitation to cut the blue vine. However, the wind blade didn't cut it off when it hit the blue vine. Ling Xiao was slightly surprised, but he didn't think too much about it. He quickly hugged Yi Shuiqing in his arms to prevent her from being pulled down. With Ling Xiao close, the water around Yi Shuiqing automatically bounced away. Yi Shuiqing was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, but her expression was very pale. Her beautiful eyes revealed gratitude and anger as she looked at Ling Xiao. The ice and fire sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. With a light wave, the blue vine was finally cut off. Are you all right? Ling Xiao asked softly. He tried his best to look away, but when he felt the fragrance of a beautiful virgin, it was unbearable for any man. Ling Xiao could only circulate his ice spiritual energy to keep himself calm. If it was anyone else, they would have probably turned over and pressed Yi Shuiqing under their crotch. Ling Xiao thought to himself, brother is such a F***king good person. Just as Yi Shuiqing was about to speak, she spat out a few mouthfuls of water onto Ling Xiao's face. Ling Xiao said helplessly, could this be retribution? Yi Shuiqing blushed and shouted, pervert, hurry up and help me up. Yi Shuiqing even wanted to die now. This was the first time she had been in such close contact with a man in her entire life. Furthermore, she was facing him in such a completely naked situation, and this man was the man she hated. Ling Xiao sighed heavily, hugged Yi Shuiqing's slender waist, and drilled out. When they came out of the water, the other girls were waiting anxiously. When the two of them landed on the shore, they immediately surrounded them. Is Sister Shuiqing all right? All the girls asked in concern. Yi Shuiqing didn't have the time to pay attention to the girls. A set of clothes appeared in her hands, and with a red face, she went into the forest on the other side. At this time, all the girls' gazes fell on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao raised his hand and said, nothing has anything to do with me. I am only responsible for saving people. Husband, what are you worried about? We are not blaming you, Kai Shiyue said with a smile. That's right, it's really Ping Yi, this pervert. Sister Shuiqing's figure is so good that even I am tempted, Wei Dyer teased from the side. Sisters, don't laugh at young master. Young master is thin-skinned. Look at him, his face is red, Bai Yushi said on behalf of Ling Xiao. For a moment, all the girls burst out laughing. Then a delicate voice shouted, damn pervert, I will kill you. Chapter 520. Yi Shuiqing carried her spirit whip and rushed towards Ling Xiao. The spirit whip attack rolled up waves of water, and the cold water whip carried a strong killing intent. Ling Xiao shouted, little girl, don't mess around. After shouting, he immediately turned around and ran away. As the saying goes, a good man doesn't fight with women. Ling Xiao didn't have time to tangle with that silly girl now. With a few leaps, he arrived in the dense forest. Then, he used his concealing breath technique to restrain his aura and hid on top of a towering tree. Nowadays, I have to be chased after to save someone. It's really an unlucky year. Ling Xiao sighed while lying on the tree, and then he scolded, damn little dragon and little gold, they are useless. However, thinking that they were just guarding nearby to prevent others from peeping at the women bathing, they couldn't do anything about the strange things under the water. Ling Xiao didn't have time to think so much, and began to sleep on the tree. Faintly, Ling Xiao also heard Yi Shuiqing's cursing. However, He didn't know that Yi Shuiqing was in another kind of crisis because she was looking for him. In the middle of the night, Ling Xiao felt someone calling him. "Young master, where are you? Madam is looking for you." Cruel Leopard's voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. Ling Xiao shivered and jumped down from the tree. Ling Xiao quickly returned to the camp and found that everyone was together, looking a little anxious. "Are you looking for me?" Ling Xiao walked in front of everyone and said, "Husband, where did you go? By the way, where is Sister Shuiqing?" Kai Shiyue immediately came up and asked, "How do I know where she went? Didn't she come back?" Ling Xiao spread out his hands. Wei Linlin immediately walked over and asked nervously, "Little brother, you really didn't see my daughter?" Ling Xiao replied honestly, "She just came to kill me, so I hid in the tree and slept." "Didn't she come back?" After Wei Linlin heard this, he sighed heavily and said, "Oh no, she must be lost." Ling Xiao was taken aback when he heard this. He said disapprovingly, "How can a grown man get lost?" Wei Linya replied, "Little brother, you might not know this, but my granddaughter has had a bad sense of direction since she was young, and getting lost is a common thing. Now that it's the middle of the night, she went into the dense forest by herself, and if she wants to find her way back, I'm afraid. Sai, let's not talk about it anymore. I have to hurry up and find her." Wei Linlin anxiously rushed in the direction that Ling Xiao had come out from. It would have been fine if he had gotten lost somewhere else, but this was the blood demon territory. If he encountered a high-grade spirit beast, he would be in trouble. "Xiao, let's go look for it together," Feng Xianyun said worriedly. "That's right, young master. We haven't seen Sister Shuiqing for a while." "We thought she was with you," Bai Yushi said. The girls were also trying to persuade Ling Xiao to go look for him. Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment before saying, "She shouldn't have gone far. It won't be difficult to find her. Don't worry." After saying that, Ling Xiao immediately sat down cross-legged and spread out his spiritual force. Anyone who got lost would definitely not run too far away. They would definitely still be wandering around. Therefore, with Ling Xiao's current powerful perception ability, he could find her within a few thousand meters. Ling Xiao had thought that he would be able to find her easily, but after searching twice, he still couldn't sense an aura similar to Yi Shuiqing's. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Did something really happen? "You guys go into the spatial ring first. We'll go find her immediately, so that we don't get lost," Ling Xiao said to everyone. Ling Xiao didn't want his people to split up to look for Yi Shuiqing. If they got separated, then it would be troublesome. He only left Savage Leopard and Prodigal Child, and kept the rest in his spatial ring. Ling Xiao believed that with the two of them by his side, he would be able to protect himself even if he encountered a high-level spirit beast, but the others wouldn't be able to. Ling Xiao brought Savage Leopard and Prodigal Child towards the direction where he was hiding. Back when Yi Shuiqing was chasing after Ling Xiao, she was so angry that she almost went crazy. Her body, which had never been touched by any man before, was actually seen by the man she hated the most. Although he had saved her, she still felt uncomfortable if she didn't vent her anger. Ling Xiao dodged quickly, and she chased after him from behind. However, she knew that she had forgotten that she had a poor sense of direction, and it was the middle of the night. It was pitch black, and the jungle was dense. It was almost impossible to distinguish between them. After chasing for a while, she still couldn't find Ling Xiao. She stomped her feet in anger. At that time, she hadn't chased far, but when she was about to return, she found a mid-grade 5th stage spirit herb. Yi Shuiqing didn't know if she was too angry with Ling Xiao, but she actually didn't consider that there would usually be spirit beasts guarding the place where this kind of spirit herb was. She couldn't help but go over to pick it. It was also at this time that a fierce spirit beast came out of the darkness. Yi Shuiqing then realized her recklessness. She was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale, and she immediately turned around to escape, running as fast as she could. However, that spirit beast actually didn't chase after her. Maybe it was because its spirit beast wasn't picked. It once again hid in the darkness. Yi Shuiqing didn't know that the spirit beast didn't chase after her. She kept running until she didn't even know where she was. Along the way, she also alarmed other spirit beasts, scaring her into running even further away like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. In the end, she was too tired. When she stopped to catch her breath, She realized that she seemed to have gone in the wrong direction. She started to panic. Looking at the pitch-black night, she didn't know which way to return to where everyone was. I'm lost again. Yi Shuiqing's beautiful eyes rippled with tears, and she waved the spirit whip in her hand. Rumble. Several trees nearby immediately fell to the ground. Damn pervert, the next time I see you, I'll definitely kill you. Yi Shuiqing gnashed her teeth. She felt that if it wasn't for Ling Xiao, she wouldn't have lost her way. She hated Ling Xiao even more. At this time, a gloomy voice rang out in the darkness. Brother, don't you think our luck is especially good today? First, we found the whereabouts of the Devil Emperor flower, and now, a beauty has come to our door. Say, it's really good luck. Haha, not bad, this girl is really hot, and her strength seems to be not bad. I wonder if you want to go first, or me? Another voice laughed loudly. Who is it? Come out. Yi Shuiqing shouted, and immediately became vigilant. At the same time, she took out a qi replenishing pill and quickly swallowed it. At this time, two people walked out from the darkness. These two people were abnormally ugly. One was blind in one eye, and his mouth was especially thick, like a duck's beak. His eyes were as thin as a thread, and they looked disgusting. The other person's head was very bald, but there were a few strands of hair, and he looked very strange. There was a very long scar on his face, and it went all the way to his neck. It was a hideous face, and anyone who looked at it couldn't help but feel afraid. These two people weren't weak. One was a high-stage king and the other was a mid-stage king. When Yi Shuiqing saw their appearances, she almost wanted to vomit on the spot. She had seen many ugly people in her life, but she had never seen two people who were so ugly. Yi Shuiqing first let out a strange cry, and then turned around to flee. Hee, do you think you can escape? The one-eyed man laughed sinisterly, and his figure flashed, quickly blocking Yi Shuiqing's path. This one-eyed man actually had a wind attribute constitution. Get out of the way, or don't blame me for being impolite. Yi Shuiqing tightened her grip on the spirit whip, and took a step back. All right, we'll be waiting for you to be impolite. I just don't know who will be impolite to who. The one-eyed man's eyes were filled with greed. The scarred man also walked over, and the two of them blocked Yi Shuiqing from the front and back. Yi Shuiqing naturally knew that these two ugly men in front of her didn't have good intentions, so she decided to take the initiative. The spirit whip in her hand was like a spirit snake, and it swept towards the one-eyed man. The one-eyed man also had a long spear in his hand, and he met Yi Shuiqing's attack. The scarred man didn't move, and he was very confident that his brother could capture that girl. However, they had underestimated Yi Shuiqing's combat strength. The spirit whip and the long spear had just collided, and the spear was immediately broken, and the one-eyed man was ruthlessly whipped. He let out a miserable scream, and was sent flying. The scarred man's eyes revealed a look of astonishment, and then he revealed a powerful aura. His hand slapped out with two golden rays of spiritual energy. Yi Shuiqing turned around to block, and the spirit whip rippled. Boom! Although Yi Shuiqing had the help of a spirit artifact, her strength wasn't as strong as the scarred man's, and she was forced to retreat. Yi Shuiqing didn't want to get entangled, and immediately turned to escape. The one-eyed man endured the pain, and slashed out a few wind blades, blocking Yi Shuiqing. The one-eyed man touched the wound on his waist, licked his thick lips and said, "Tonight, I will definitely entertain you well." The one-eyed man moved, and he raised the wind attribute to the extreme. Yi Shuiqing only felt her vision blur, and the one-eyed man was already in front of her. She was just about to make a move to kill the one-eyed man, but he was one step ahead of her and grabbed her wrist, snatching away her spirit whip. However, the one-eyed man also paid the price. He was struck by Yi Shuiqing's palm, and his chest flew out. The scarred man took the opportunity to rush to Yi Shuiqing's back, and struck her with his palm. Puff! Yi Shuiqing spat out a mouthful of blood, and her delicate body flew far away, fainting. The scarred man didn't continue to chase after Yi Shuiqing. Instead, he went to his brother's side and asked, "Are you all right?" The one-eyed man crawled up with great difficulty and said, I won't die yet, but you have to let me have this girl first." "Sure, but you have to make her stay obediently first." The scarred man replied with a smile, and then walked over to seal Yi Shuiqing's dantian to prevent her from escaping. The one-eyed man consumed a healing pill, and after an hour of recovery, his complexion finally improved a lot. He stood up, walked in front of Yi Shuiqing, and patted her cheek to wake her up. Yi Shuiqing opened her eyes and saw the one-eyed man's expression of extreme fear. She wanted to resist, but found that she didn't have the strength. Hee, little girl. Don't move around. Your dantian has already been sealed. Now, serve me well. The one-eyed man stared at Yi Shuiqing with infinite desire. Then his body shook, and all the clothes on his body turned into nothingness. Chapter 521. The one-eyed man's ferocious muscles were exposed in front of Yi Shuiqing. Yi Shuiqing let out a strange cry and almost fainted. Haha, isn't my place very big? I'll make you scream even louder later. The one-eyed man said with a very proud smile. The more the woman screamed, the more excited the man became. Not far away, the knife-scarred man urged. Hurry up, I also want to vent. Don't worry, it's just that I don't know if this girl will have the strength to deal with you after I'm done. The one-eyed man replied vulgarly. In the next moment, he pounced towards Yi Shuiqing and tore Yi Shuiqing's silk with one hand. Yi Shuiqing's jade-like skin was exposed, making the one-eyed man even more excited. Yi Shuiqing's tears had already flowed down uncountable. She wanted to resist, but she didn't have any strength. She would rather die than be humiliated by others. Seeing that Yi Shuiqing's clothes were about to be torn by the one-eyed man, a cold voice came out. You beast, go die! The one-eyed man stopped moving and became alert. In the next moment, a gust of wind blew in front of him. Before he could see clearly who it was, he only felt that his lower body was ruthlessly kicked. Ah! The one-eyed man hugged his lower body and let out a heart-wrenching scream. His whole body fell to the ground and rolled around. His penis had been kicked off by the person who had come. The knife-scarred man who was not far away quickly made the fastest reaction. A large knife appeared in his hand and a flash of brilliance slashed towards the person who came. Overestimating yourself. The person who came snorted indifferently and did not move. Behind him, another youth appeared and quickly met the knife-scarred man. A fist that was not very big was swung out. The knife-scarred man did not think that the other would actually dare to use his fist to fight against his profound weapon. His eyes flashed with strong disdain. In his eyes, the other's hand was about to be chopped off. Ding! The knife and the fist collided. The youth's fist was fine, but the big knife was broken into 2 pieces. At the same time, the youth swung his fist again. Puh! The knife-scarred man did not even have time to react before his big head exploded. The youth landed on the ground and shook his fist in disdain. Can't even withstand a single blow. Yi Shuiqing did not expect to be saved at the most crucial moment. She stared blankly at the newcomer, tears streaming down her beautiful eyes. Ling Xiao sighed softly and pressed his hand under her lower abdomen. Yi Shuiqing shrank back and shouted, Pervert, what are you doing? She thought that Ling Xiao was just like those 2 beasts who wanted to take advantage of her. Ling Xiao frowned and said, I'll help you remove the seal on your dantian. Yi Shuiqing looked at Ling Xiao and hesitated for a moment before turning his head away. It seemed that he had compromised. Ling Xiao quickly patted Yi Shuiqing's lower abdomen, and a wave of spiritual power drilled into her abdomen, unsealing her locked dantian. Put on your clothes, I'll leave this man for you to deal with, Ling Xiao said, and temporarily left with the prodigal and cruel leopard. Yi Shuiqing looked at Ling Xiao's back with a complicated expression, but her heart was inexplicably filled with a strange emotion. She didn't have time to think too much, and quickly added a piece of clothing to cover up her body. Then, she walked in front of the one-eyed man and waved her spirit whip. Papa! Ah! Along with the sound of the whip, the sound of screams also rang out incessantly, cutting through the clouds. Great! Great aunt! Please spare me. I don't dare any more. The one-eyed man let out a pitiful cry for mercy. Yi Shuiqing still ignored him. She didn't use much spiritual power, but she still whipped the one-eyed man half dead. His originally disgusting appearance became even more ferocious and frightening. However, this kind of frightening appearance added a bit of pity and sorrow. Just as Yi Shuiqing was about to kill the disgusting person in front of her, he shouted, Don't! Don't kill me! I know where the Devil Emperor flower is. As long as you let me go, I'll take you there. As soon as he saw the blood-winged eagle, he would be dyed in the rain of blood. Once he saw the Devil Emperor flower, he would become an emperor. The Devil Emperor flower was the rarest spirit flower in the Blood Demon territory, and it was also a top-grade spirit flower that was difficult to find in other places. It could allow any martial artist to reach the peak of the Earth Sovereign stage without any bottlenecks, and it was also the main spirit flower for refining a top-grade 6th-tier pill, the Sovereign Pill. It could help any Empyrean directly break through a level. Anyone who heard the 3 words, Devil Emperor flower, would become interested, and even Yi Shuiqing was no exception. In the central region, whether it was men or women, the pursuit of strength was abnormally crazy. There would be competition between any power, be it between sex, families, old people, or young people. There was no one who didn't compete with each other. Everyone wanted to make a name for themselves and achieve supreme prestige. Do you really know where the Devil Emperor flower is? Yi Shuiqing stopped whipping the one-eyed man and asked. If she obtained the Devil Emperor flower, then her future path would be countless times better than others. I know, but can you let me recover some strength first? I can't take it anymore, the one-eyed man begged. His manhood had been kicked by Ling Xiao, and his body was covered in many wounds. If he didn't take the pill, he would die. Yi Shuiqing's beautiful eyes flashed with a complicated expression. She definitely had to kill this man. He actually wanted to stain her holy body, but she didn't want to let the Devil Emperor flower go. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. Just as she was in a daze, the one-eyed man's eyes flashed with a sinister look. Go to hell! The one-eyed man endured the pain all over his body and used the last bit of strength in his body to bounce up from the ground. At the same time, he clasped 2 fingers together and stabbed towards Yi Shuiqing's throat. The one-eyed man was a fierce mercenary. His manhood had already been destroyed, and his body was heavily injured. Even if he told her where the Devil Emperor flower was, she wouldn't let him go. Therefore, he might as well kill the woman in front of him. Then he wouldn't be lonely on the road to the Yellow Springs. The one-eyed man's way of thinking was very scary, and his timing was very accurate. When Yi Shuiqing felt the killing intent, it was already too late for her to dodge. At this moment, she thought that she was going to die. However, she was destined not to live such a short life. Just as the one-eyed man's fingers were about to pierce her throat, a strong and powerful arm grabbed the one-eyed man's neck. Kacha! Before the one-eyed man could react, his neck was broken by Ling Xiao. Yi Shuiqing escaped from death, and her body went limp and was about to fall to the ground. Ling Xiao's eyes and hands were quick. He held Yi Shuiqing in his arms and asked, "Are you all right?" Yi Shuiqing's face was extremely pale, and she replied in a daze, I'm fine." Soon after, she realized that she was in a man's embrace, and pushed Ling Xiao away with all her might. "Pervert, get out of my way, I'm going to kill you." As she said that, she raised the spirit whip in her hand and was about to swing it at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was furious. He snatched Yi Shuiqing's spirit whip and fiercely pushed her to the ground. He scolded, "Are you done, crazy woman? Do you think I want to see your skinny meat? Which one of my wives and maids isn't prettier than you? If I didn't know you, I wouldn't care about you. I've saved you twice and you're still shouting at me to kill me. If you dare to shout, 'pervert' at me again, I'll rape you first and then kill you. Then, I'll throw you to the spirit beasts as food. Damn, I've been unlucky for 8 lifetimes to meet an ungrateful woman like you." Ling Xiao had endured Yi Shuiqing for a long time. He had accidentally seen her body, but he had only seen it in order to save her. Now that he had come to find her in the middle of the night, he had saved her life again. In one night, he had saved her twice. Not only did she not know how to be grateful, she even wanted to use force against him. How could he tolerate this? After Ling Xiao finished cursing, he turned around and left. His heart was filled with anger. In any case, this woman was not related to him. If he hadn't promised to escort them back to Yi Family City, he wouldn't have bothered with her. Ling Xiao had only taken a few steps when he heard the sound of Yi Shuiqing crying. That sound was like a devil's voice, striking at the weakest part of Ling Xiao's heart. Ling Xiao let out a heavy sigh. He turned around and strode over to the crying Yi Shuiqing and held her in his arms. At first, Yi Shuiqing was still struggling, but Ling Xiao didn't pay attention to her. After walking for a while, Yi Shuiqing stopped struggling. She hooked her arms around Ling Xiao's neck and pressed her delicate face against Ling Xiao's chest. Her beautiful eyes were tightly closed, and the tears on her delicate face were still slowly flowing. Ling Xiao looked down and found that the woman had actually fallen asleep. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and quickly brought her back to a safe area. When Ling Xiao returned to his original place, Wei Linlin had already rushed back. He was walking back and forth in the same place, looking very anxious and unsightly. When he saw Ling Xiao come back with Yi Xueqing in his arms, he almost cried out in joy. What happened to my granddaughter? Wei Linlin asked as he looked at the sleeping Yi Xueqing. Ling Xiao handed the person over to Wei Linya and said, Old master, I've returned her to you. She met a rogue cultivator and almost had an accident. Fortunately, I arrived in time. She's fine now. She should have just fallen asleep from the shock. Wei Linlin let out a heavy sigh of relief after hearing Ling Xiao's explanation. A grateful expression appeared on his old face as he said to Ling Xiao, Thank you for saving me, little brother. If anything had happened to my granddaughter, I wouldn't know what to do with my old bones. Ling Xiao replied, Old master doesn't need to be so polite. This matter happened because of me. Now that she's fine, I'm also relieved. Wei Linya nodded then asked, Then what about your companions? Ling Xiao replied, They all split up to look for her. They should be back soon. Ling Xiao was flustered. It was impossible for him to let others know that he had a spatial ring that could hold a living person. A look of guilt flashed across Wei Linlin's face as he said, Little brother, I'm sorry. My granddaughter has been spoiled since she was young. Ling Xiao waved his hand and said, Old master doesn't need to say anything. You can take her away now. I don't want her to see me when she wakes up. Ling Xiao said, then told him about how he had seen Yi Xueqing's naked body at the bottom of the lake. After listening, Wei Linlin's face revealed a somewhat complicated expression. After a long time, Wei Linlin sighed softly and said, Little brother, this matter is not your fault. Take this token. When you arrive at Yi Family City, show this token and someone will receive you. We will meet again. Wei Linlin handed a token to Ling Xiao, then picked up Yi Xueqing and quickly left. After Ling Xiao saw Wei Linlin leave, a proud smile appeared on his face. Chapter 522. Do you know where it is? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. Behind him, Savage Leopard quietly appeared and said, Got it. It's not far from here, but there might be some trouble. What trouble? Ling Xiao asked. They're not the only ones who know the whereabouts of the Devil Emperor flower. Other people also know. You're all from the Violent Dragon Mercenary Group, the #1 mercenary group in the Blood Demon region. After they discovered the Devil Emperor flower, they've already asked for reinforcements. I believe that those people are already on their way here. Maybe they'll be here soon. How strong are the people from the Violent Dragon Mercenary Group? Ling Xiao asked with narrowed eyes. Leader Violent Dragon and Vice Leader Black Dragon are both at the Sky Sovereign level, Savage Leopard replied. Ling Xiao's eyelids twitched as he cried out, Their strength is that terrifying? He never thought that there would be 2 Sky Sovereigns in a group of mercenaries. If they had this kind of strength, they would be comparable to a 7th grade sect in the northwest or southern region. The Blood Demon region is the intersection of the 3 lands, and there are abundant resources here. If you are lucky, you can even encounter the Devil Emperor flower, so there are many mercenary groups here. Among them, the Violent Dragon Mercenary Group, the Night Cat, and the Blood Snake Mercenary Group are the strongest. The Night Cat and the Blood Snake Mercenary Group are from the northwest and southern region, and their strength is considered to be at the top of the northwest or southern region. However, the Violent Dragon Mercenary Group is from the central region, and they are much more terrifying than them, Savage Leopard said. Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes and said, No wonder. There are many experts in the central region, and it's not too much to have 2 Sky Sovereigns in charge. He paused for a moment before continuing, Let's go. No matter how strong they are, the Devil Emperor flower is mine. After saying that, he brought Savage Leopard and the prodigal boy in a certain direction. How did Savage Leopard know the secret of those 2 ugly men? Needless to say, it was because he had absorbed the souls of those 2 ugly men and learned the secret of the Devil Emperor flower from their memories. Before this, Ling Xiao had already heard the conversation between the one-eyed man and Yi Xueqing. The Devil Emperor flower was a rare spirit flower that was comparable to a level 7 spirit grass. Ling Xiao didn't want to let it go. With it, Ling Xiao's breakthrough to the Earth Emperor realm was just around the corner, and he wouldn't encounter any bottlenecks all the way to the high-level Earth Emperor realm. This was a great temptation to anyone. On the way, Ling Xiao handed 2 soul-replenishing pills to the Savage Leopard. Savage Leopard was overjoyed. What he needed the most right now was to mend the old injuries of his soul. As long as his soul force recovered, his cultivation would also gradually recover. Of course, if he really wanted to recover to his peak, the other half of Ling Xiao's soul in his sea of consciousness was indispensable. Savage Leopard put away the soul-mending pill. He would consume it after he left the Blood Demon realm. At that time, his strength would rise to another level. Why was Ling Xiao so good to Savage Leopard now? Because before this, he had already felt Savage Leopard's loyalty to him. There was no need to doubt it. Since that was the case, he would improve him as soon as possible so that he would have an additional layer of protection by his side. Moreover, he just heard that there were 2 low-level Empyreans in the number 1 mercenary group, Violent Dragon Mercenary Group. Such strength made Ling Xiao feel a sense of crisis. The Violent Dragon Mercenary Group only represented a small force in the Central Territory. Moreover, it was a very small kind. They already had 2 Empyreans. Then what kind of strength would the other forces in other places have? Ling Xiao didn't dare to imagine. He had already obtained relevant information about the Central Territory from Wei Yelin. In the Central Territory, the Empyrean rank wasn't the most powerful. There were still the terrifying existences of the Emperor rank above it. Even the existence of the Sage rank wasn't impossible. The Emperor rank were the ancestor-level old monsters of their respective sects or clans. As for the Sage rank, very few people had seen the appearance of such a level of character, but it didn't mean that they didn't exist. The strength of the Emperor rank was something Ling Xiao had seen with his own eyes. The might of that great world could simply destroy the world. In front of it, the Empyrean rank was like a child facing an adult, unable to withstand a single blow. Therefore, Ling Xiao urgently wanted to increase his strength, and the people around him also had to be raised as soon as possible. He deceived Wei Linlin and Yi Shuiqing to leave, naturally because he didn't want them to share the Demon Emperor flower with him. People were all selfish, not to mention that Ling Xiao had already saved Yi Shuiqing twice. He had already done his best. The sky gradually brightened, and the first ray of sunlight had already begun to shine on the forest. Ling Xiao and the other 2 quickly ran through the forest. One terrifying spirit beast after another wanted to come out and attack, but feeling the divine beast aura emitted by the prodigal, they didn't dare to come out and provoke him. It wasn't that they weren't stronger than the prodigal, but that spirit beasts were very particular about the influence of their bloodline. The bloodline of a divine beast was supreme, and the other low-level bloodline spirit beasts would unconsciously be suppressed and submit. The 3 of them continuously flew at high speed for a long time. Ling Xiao couldn't help but ask, "How much longer until we arrive?" Savage Leopard pointed to the front and said, "It shouldn't be far ahead. We'll arrive in about an hour." Ling Xiao became more and more excited. Although there were many spirit flowers and herbs in his cauldron, top-grade spirit herbs like the Demon Emperor flower were extremely rare. He had to obtain the Demon Emperor flower on this trip. However, the 3 of them had just advanced for a while when they sensed a strong energy fluctuation in front of them. Ling Xiao waved his hand to stop the 2 of them. At this time, 2 strong men jumped out from both sides of the forest. Both of them had the strength of a high-level king stage, and their killing aura was released, allowing people to clearly feel their blood and killing intent. "Get out of here immediately or die," one of them said faintly. The prodigal was about to make a move, but Ling Xiao stopped him. Ling Xiao waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Without another word, he brought Savage Leopard and the prodigal and immediately retreated more than 2,000 meters away. "Boss, why are you afraid of them? I can kill them with one punch," the prodigal said unhappily. "Don't be impulsive, let them consume some of their energy first." Ling Xiao revealed a sly smile and said. Savage Leopard looked at Ling Xiao's evil smile and knew that his young master already had a plan. At this time, a strong wave of spiritual energy sounded. Rumble! The forest in front of Ling Xiao and the others was instantly blown up. The sky was also filled with a powerful scorching light, illuminating the surrounding area with a red light. Roar! Following that, Another beast's roar shook the sky. The power of the beast's roar seemed to be very terrifying, causing the surroundings to shake. At this time, dozens of figures flew up from the ground. Ling Xiao looked up and realized that these people were wearing the same clothes as the two people just now. They must be from the Violent Dragon mercenary group. Savage Leopard said indifferently. The one with the double sickle hooks is the Violent Dragon, and the other one with the mace is the Black Dragon. They have 6 Earth Emperor stage and 32 King stage. What a powerful strength. Ling Xiao clenched his fists and looked at the sky, a strong desire to fight rising in his heart. At the same time, a huge beast shadow also slowly rose. This was a peak rank 6 spirit beast, a magic armored leopard that could break through to rank 7 at any time. This magic armored leopard was the spirit beast guarding the magic emperor flower, a powerful dark attribute spirit beast. Its fur was incomparably black, and there were even ferocious spikes growing out of its back. It looked as if it had added a set of spiked armor to its body, giving off a terrifying aura. Good. What a good magic armored leopard, so mighty. No wonder I, Savage Leopard, felt excited when I came here. This guy is mine. Savage Leopard looked at the huge magic armored leopard and licked his lips excitedly. Savage Leopard cultivated the dark attribute, and this magic armored leopard happened to also be of the dark attribute. Moreover, its level was not low, so Savage Leopard was naturally happy to see it. However, Ling Xiao was puzzled. Since there is a magic armored leopard guarding it, how dare they have designs on the magic emperor flower? It was also at this time that Violent Dragon roared in the sky, quickly set up an inescapable net. As his voice fell, the Earth Emperor stage and dozens of King stage warriors moved at the same time. Swoosh! Tiny steel wires with a cold aura shot out from their hands. These tiny steel wires were difficult to see with the naked eye, but they carried a strong sense of sharpness that could be sensed. The magic armored leopard, relying on its powerful strength, didn't seem to care about these tiny steel wires. It pounced towards the few King stage experts closest to it. Puff! It bit off the head of one of the King stage warriors. The King stage warrior next to him wanted to escape, but unfortunately, he was ruthlessly smashed into meat paste by its other claw. The magic armored leopard was in high spirits, and just as it was about to pounce towards the others, dozens of small steel wires appeared on its body and tied it up. Its fierce eyes revealed a disdainful look, and its body continued to pounce forward. As it moved, the Tyrannosaurus roared, "Tie it up!" Everyone immediately scattered in all directions, holding tightly onto the small steel wire in their hands. Roar! Roar! The magic armored leopard's body tensed up, and the dozens of small steel wires fiercely embedded into its flesh armor. Streaks of blood flowed out incessantly, and it roared in pain. The magic armored leopard flipped in the air, and the dozens of people unconsciously panicked. But as the magic armored leopard flipped, the small steel wires tightened, and the blood flowed even faster. At this time, Violent Dragon gave Black Dragon a look, and the two took out their spirit weapons and madly attacked the magic armored leopard. Rumble! Cruel Leopard said anxiously, "Oh no, that's 10,000 coiling silk. The magic armored leopard definitely can't resist it. Young master, let's make a move." He didn't want the spirit beast, he had just taken a fancy to die in front of him. What's the hurry? The magic armored leopard can't die so easily. Ling Xiao slightly frowned. He didn't expect that the other party would have such a method to trap a spirit beast at the peak of the 6th rank with a small amount of 10,000 coiling silk. This was truly out of his expectations. At the same time, Ling Xiao was thinking about the 10,000 coiling silk. If he could seize the 10,000 coiling silk and give it to his 8 generals to use, perhaps it would be another mysterious winning weapon. After a series of violent attacks, the magic armored leopard's breath clearly weakened, and the injuries on its body seemed to have worsened. However, this aroused an unprecedented anger. Roar! It let out a loud roar, finally displaying all of its anger. Chapter 523. The armored demon leopard had the strength of a peak level 6, and its leather armor was comparable to a spirit artifact in defense. Although it had been tied up and cut by the 10,000 coiling threads, and then exploded by the 2 Empyreans, it still hadn't died. It still had the ability to resist. It roared, and its aura soared to its peak. The spikes on its body seemed to stretch a little longer, and blood seeped out from its flesh, making it look hideous and frightening. Tyrannosaurus Rex's eyes jumped wildly, and then he shouted to his subordinates, "Quick! Pull it hard and dismember it." However, as soon as he finished speaking, the demon-armored leopard moved again. It spat out a mouthful of black energy from its bloody mouth and blasted at the person who had tied it up. The two king-grade experts in front of it didn't even have time to release the 10,000 coiling silk in their hands before they were swallowed by the black energy. The other members of the violent dragon mercenary group were flustered. One by one, they used all their strength to pull the 10,000 coiling silk in their hands. The magic-armored panther let out a series of hissing sounds. Its four limbs contracted with great force. A few people from the Tyrannosaurus mercenary group uncontrollably bounced back towards it. "Damn it! Second bro, get rid of him as soon as possible," roared the violent dragon. The two scythes in his hands kept sweeping, and a terrifying energy bombarded the armored devil leopard. Black Dragon swung his mace with all his might at the armored demon leopard's head. The armored demon leopard soared into the sky. The 10,000 twining threads became even more entangled in its flesh, but it couldn't care less. It had to shake off these humans to survive. The 30 people holding onto the 10,000 coiling silk tightly held onto the silk, but they were still pulled around by the demon armor leopard. Some of the 10,000 coiling silk in their hands even cut their wrists and let go. At the same time, the devil-armored leopard suffered another barrage of attacks from two Empyreans. The demon-armored leopard's body rapidly descended, and when it turned around and blasted a few more king stage warriors into pieces. However, it looked even more terrifying now. His blood kept flowing rapidly. As several people were killed, many of the 10,000 coiling threads were loosened, and the demon-armored leopard felt much more relaxed. However, the rampaging dragon and the black dragon did not wish to see that happen. Black Dragon shouted, "Boss has released the spirit beast. We can't kill it with just our attacks." Rampaging Dragon nodded, and the spirit beast protecting wristbands in their hands began to flash. Two massive spirit beasts appeared in front of him. Shockingly, these were two low-tier armored dragons of the 6th step. Their huge bodies were not smaller than the armored demon leopard, and seemed to be even larger. With the participation of two low-rank armored dragons, the situation of the magic-armored leopard was very bad. The armored dragons were a branch of the mythological beasts, but their bloodline was pitifully thin. However, their bodies were stronger than the average spirit beast. The two earth armor dragons were like chariots as they continuously attacked the bound demon armor leopard. On the other hand, the violent dragon and the black dragon chose to launch long-range attacks. From time to time, they would attack the vital parts of the magic-armored panther. After repeated torture, the demon-armored leopard's condition was getting worse. Cruel Leopard became more and more anxious. If Ling Xiao wasn't around, he would definitely save him immediately. "Young master, let's make a move," Savage Leopard pleaded. Ling Xiao pursed his lips and said, "Go ahead, but don't try to be brave." "Boss, you should have let me go earlier." The prodigal had a combative factor. Once he heard Ling Xiao's words, he was the first to rush into the sky. Cruel Leopard didn't fall behind either. With a shake of his body, he immediately flew into the sky. The prodigal attacked one of the armored dragons the moment he made his move. Cruel Leopard was much more rational than him. Streaks of black attribute attacks attacked the violent dragon mercenary group members who were pulling the 10,000 twine. In an instant, a few of them were killed by Cruel Leopard. "How dare you kill my violent dragon mercenary group's people? I will destroy you." Violent Dragon was enraged by the sudden attack. He had spent a lot of effort to lure this armored demon leopard out and kill it. Now that he was about to succeed, someone actually dared to ruin his plan. He held the double sickle hooks and swept towards Cruel Leopard. Cruel Leopard revealed a bloodthirsty smile. He took strange steps and continuously pointed out black fog from his hands to attack others. His goal was to rescue the armored demon leopard first. Violent Dragon was furious. He immediately spread out the small square world and chased after Cruel Leopard at the highest speed. "Go to hell!" Violent Dragon roared. Within the small square world, countless sickles that harvested human lives appeared and interweaved towards Cruel Leopard. As long as Cruel Leopard was touched, he would probably be dismembered immediately. Cruel Leopard couldn't kill anyone else, but he had already done enough. Half of the armored demon leopard's people were already gone. With its strength, it should be able to break free. Cruel Leopard turned around. With a blood-devouring demon blade in hand, the small square world spread out a scene like a blood prison and directly clashed with violent dragon. Rumble rumble. The two small square worlds collided. The powerful energy almost formed a level 10 storm, causing the surroundings to shake violently. On the other side, the prodigal was fighting with the armored dragon. He didn't transform into his original form, but he could emit a powerful divine beast aura, causing the armored dragon to feel fear. The armored dragon already had consciousness. It could sense that the person in front of it wasn't a human, but a powerful beast king. However, the Qilan divine beast's aura was different from the dragon's aura. Hence, it wasn't completely suppressed and chose to surrender. Only its combat power was slightly affected. However, this was enough for the prodigal. His not-so-big fists bombarded the armored dragon's body. Every punch carried a huge force of 1,000 kilograms, causing the armored dragon to cry out in pain. The armored dragon wasn't completely defenseless. Its powerful dragon tail kept swinging, sweeping the prodigal several times. However, the prodigal's body was extremely strong. He didn't seem to suffer much damage after being swept by the tail. Every time, he would be able to attack again very quickly. On the other side, the armored demon leopard once again displayed its ferocity. It shook off the last dozen people who tried to stop it. The 10,000 twining silk binding finally fell off. However, the armored demon leopard also suffered many attacks from the black dragon and the armored dragon because of this. Almost all of its body was injured, and blood kept flowing out. Even so, its terrifying strength was still extremely terrifying. With a roar, it pounced toward the black dragon. Without the 10,000 twining silk binding it, the armored demon leopard's speed was astonishingly fast. Its figure was still in its original position, but its real body had already reached the black dragon's side. It opened its bloody mouth and pounced toward the black dragon. The black dragon was scared out of its wits. It opened its small square world and pierced the armored demon leopard with its teeth. At the same time, the armored dragon that protected him rushed toward the armored demon leopard from the side and knocked it far away. The armored demon leopard turned back to fight the armored demon leopard. The black dragon escaped for the time being. His clothes were soaked, and his ferocious appearance was very pale. Damn it! Someone actually wants to steal the demonic emperor flower. You guys, quickly kill it. The black dragon's eyelids twitched. He suddenly saw a young man walking quietly toward the demonic emperor flower. He quickly ordered his men to kill Ling Xiao. The violent dragon mercenary group's men didn't even think. A few king stages immediately rushed toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao hadn't found the demonic emperor flower yet. Now that it was exposed, he had no choice but to fight. Come on, let me warm up. Ling Xiao licked his lips, and his fighting strength soared in an instant. He's actually also a high-level king stage. One of the violent dragon mercenary group's men said in surprise. They clearly didn't feel the fluctuation of Ling Xiao's aura. They didn't expect him to display such a powerful strength. They were slightly surprised. However, the surprise only lasted for a moment. They had sent a total of 4 king stages to kill him. It was already a great honor for him. Unfortunately, they had praised Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao didn't even put them in his eyes. Ling Xiao blinked his eyes a few times, and the few king stage masters who were attacking him didn't even have time to scream before they fell to the ground, dead. Ling Xiao instantly soared into the air. His aura had already reached its peak. A golden dragon's shadow majestically looked down on everyone. Kill him! A low-level Earth Emperor frowned and shouted. Just as they were about to attack, an angry roar resounded. Roar! Ling Xiao opened his mouth, and a dragon's roar sound wave rushed out. His strength was no longer the same as before. The dragon's roar energy sound wave attack was even more terrifying. Those members of the Tyrant Dragon Mercenary Group didn't expect Ling Xiao to have such a rare sound wave attack. For a moment, their eardrums were shaken to the point that they were injured. Even the most powerful high-level Earth Sovereign Realm expert was momentarily dazed. Ling Xiao grasped the critical opportunity. His wind attribute was unleashed to the maximum, and several figures floated in the air. Bang bang! Ling Xiao didn't use any spirit tools, but his fists were comparable to top-grade Xian weapons. One punch was enough to kill a person. In the blink of an eye, 3 heads were smashed by him, including the head of a low-level Earth Sovereign. Ling Xiao loved this method of killing people with physical contact because it felt great. The high-level Earth Emperor regained his senses and immediately became furious. He didn't expect a high-level king stage expert to be so terrifying. The sword in his hand rippled with green light and wrapped around Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was very confident. He felt that his combat strength was almost comparable to that of a mid-level Earth Emperor. However, he would never look down on any opponent, especially those who were stronger than him. Ling Xiao's eyebrows flashed again, and his mental force attacked the high-level Earth Emperor like thousands of sharp blades. The high-level Earth Emperor's head was blasted, and he let out a series of miserable screams. His body was about to fall to the ground. Ling Xiao's figure flashed, and he appeared below the high-level Earth Emperor. His knee ruthlessly struck the high-level Earth Emperor's waist. Crack! Ah! The high-level Earth Emperor's waist was directly broken by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao flipped over, and a series of storm-like leg shadows trampled on the high-level Earth Emperor's back. Bang bang! The high-level Earth Emperor's body was instantly deformed. Wind blades mixed with innate wind seeped into his body, and very quickly, his body was corroded. First, his body turned gray, and then his flesh withered rapidly. In a short while, only a skeleton was left. Finally, even the skeleton was completely corroded. The remaining members of the Violent Dragon mercenary group almost vomited on the spot when they saw this scene. They had seen many people's broken hands, but it was rare to see such a terrifying broken hand. Chapter 524. Come on, all of you come at me together. Otherwise, I won't be satisfied. Ling Xiao was now like a battle-crazed maniac. His whole body was filled with battle intent as he licked his lips and said to the other members of the Violent Dragon mercenary group. How could the members of the Violent Dragon mercenary group still have the courage to fight against Ling Xiao? The other party could even kill their vice-captain. So what could they do? Monster! Their faces were pale to the extreme. Then, they cursed and immediately scattered to escape. Can you escape? A ruthless glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and the spiritual force once again drilled out from between his eyebrows. In the blink of an eye, another 3 king stage experts died mysteriously. Ling Xiao personally chased after a middle-stage Earth Emperor. That middle-stage Earth Emperor was about to cry. He cursed in his heart. How can there be such a powerful king stage expert? Could it be that he's from the younger generation of some terrifying force? In the central region, some large sects and clans did not lack monstrous existences that could fight above their level. That middle-stage Earth Emperor could only think in this direction. Otherwise, he could not understand how there could be such an abnormal young man. Ling Xiao used the move Grass in the Wind, and a peerlessly fast leg shadow kicked towards that middle-stage Earth Emperor. That middle-stage Earth Emperor was already scared out of his wits. How could he dare to continue fighting? He fled as fast as he could. Although Ling Xiao's speed was fast, that middle-stage Earth Emperor was even faster. His leg shadow could only miss. Ling Xiao sighed softly. My strength is still not enough. If he was currently a low-stage Earth Emperor, with his speed, how could he let that middle-stage Earth Emperor escape? Ling Xiao could only use his spiritual force to attack that middle-stage Earth Emperor again. Then he closed in on that middle-stage Earth Emperor in one fell swoop. This time, the Earth Emperor stage members of the Violent Dragon mercenary group were all annihilated. Ling Xiao looked at the battle situation on the other side. The savage leopard and the Tyrannosaurus were fighting fiercely, while the prodigal boy was blasting the armored dragon until it was dizzy and disoriented. It would probably die soon. On the other side, the demon-armored leopard was fighting the black dragon and the armored dragon, but it didn't have much momentum either. After all, the demon-armored leopard was heavily injured. However, Rampaging Dragon had the thought of running away. He had never thought that such a powerful opponent would appear. In the territory of the Blood Demon territory, they had always been the strongest, but now there were 2 young experts who were too young. It really made him feel puzzled. Violent Dragon suddenly caught a glimpse of Ling Xiao descending towards the Demon Emperor flower, and a vicious glint appeared in his eyes. He thought to himself, I'll kill this brat first and then take the Demon Emperor flower. Thinking of this, he forcefully pushed the savage leopard away and pushed the small universe toward Ling Xiao. The savage leopard was shocked and immediately shouted at Ling Xiao, Young master, be careful. The speed of an Empyrean stage expert was quite amazing. In just an instant, Rampaging Dragon arrived in the sky above Ling Xiao. Brat, go to hell. Violent Dragon's small universe split into a small portion and pressed towards Ling Xiao. Even if Ling Xiao's defense was amazing, he still couldn't block the all-out attack of an Empyrean stage expert. Don't blame me if you're courting death. Ling Xiao had no way to avoid Violent Dragon's attack, but that didn't mean he couldn't fight back. His spatial ring flashed, and a powerful blue flood dragon soared into the sky. Its signature roar sent Violent Dragon flying, and he bled from all 7 of his orifices. Violent Dragon's luck was really bad. He never thought that this young guy would have such a terrifying spirit beast. He suppressed his surging blood and shouted at the black dragon, "Second brother, retreat. He's tough." After he shouted, he instantly retreated a kilometer away without hesitation. Naturally, the blue flood dragon wouldn't let him go so easily. With a swing of its tail, it caught up to Violent Dragon. Violent Dragon was shocked. However, he was already prepared. A small object appeared in his hand and he threw it at the blue WYRM. Boom! The small thing produced a powerful explosion, and the blue flood dragon roared incessantly. Violent Dragon also took the opportunity to escape far away. The black dragon wasn't slow either. He put away the armored earth dragon and fled even faster than Violent Dragon, but the armored demon leopard was still chasing after him. Heavenly Lightning Child? I didn't expect such a threatening thing to exist. Ling Xiao said indifferently with narrowed eyes. Ling Xiao had already guessed what the other party had used to explode. Heavenly Lightning Child was a rare item refined from a beast core, and it could produce a powerful explosion. This wasn't the first time Ling Xiao had seen a Heavenly Lightning Child. When he met Elder Luo Guiyang of the Heavy Sword Sect and the Purple Sky Sect, Luo Guiyang had used it once. Therefore, Ling Xiao was able to recognize it at a glance. If that thing had been thrown at the savage leopard, he would probably have died. However, this kind of terrible thing was rather difficult to refine. Therefore, it was also a rare life-saving spirit treasure. No one would use it as a last resort. A slight carelessness could also affect one's own life. The blue flood dragon was in pain from the explosion, and a large piece of dragon meat was blown off. It could be seen that the Heavenly Lightning Child was refined from at least a 6th rank beast core. Because the higher the rank of the beast core was used to refine a Heavenly Lightning Child, the more extraordinary its power was. The blue flood dragon instantly shrank and flew back to Ling Xiao's side, letting out a wail. Ling Xiao rubbed its head and threw it a water attribute beast core. Ling Xiao discovered that flood dragons in Qilin needed to consume a large number of beast cores to advance. The blue flood dragon had followed him for more than 2 years. Ling Xiao had fed it a lot of beast cores, but it had never advanced. However, Ling Xiao knew that what it lacked was a 7th rank water attribute beast core. Although he had plundered all the resources of the Chongjian sect, he was unable to find a 7th rank water attribute beast core, and the Prodigal's beast core did not have a water attribute beast core either. Ling Xiao could only wait for other opportunities to find it, or he could think of a way to buy it when he reached the central region. Ling Xiao looked down from the sky for a while, and finally saw the Devil Emperor flower on a steep cliff. It's hidden so well, it's really easy for me to find it. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile, and his body quickly flew down towards the Devil Emperor flower. Seeing that Ling Xiao was about to pluck the Devil Emperor flower, the devil-armored leopard let out a shocking roar and galloped back from the other side of the sky. Ling Xiao ignored it and scooped the Devil Emperor flower into his arms. With the Devil Emperor flower in hand, Ling Xiao only felt that his body and mind were clear, as if he was suddenly separated into the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and he was a part of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Ling Xiao only felt that the feeling was very wonderful, as if the Devil Emperor flower had a natural ability to attach itself to the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. No wonder those who consumed the Devil Emperor flower could reach the peak of the Earth Emperor realm without experiencing a bottleneck. It was probably because of the Devil Emperor flower's affinity with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The devil-armored leopard rushed over, but the savage leopard and the prodigal had already blocked in front of it. Junior leopard, surrender to me. I will definitely help you become a 7th rank or even 8th rank spirit beast. The savage leopard licked its lips and said to the devil-armored leopard. At the same time, the savage leopard also emitted a dark attribute energy, as if it was resonating with the devil-armored leopard. However, The devil-armored leopard was not so easy to tame. It ignored the savage leopard's words and opened its bloody mouth to bite the savage leopard. The savage leopard was just about to make a move, but the prodigal was faster than him. He was like a warmonger who was not afraid of any strong opponent. The devil-armored leopard seemed to feel the prodigal's supreme majesty as a divine beast, and its movements slightly paused. It was also at this moment that the prodigal's small fist had already blasted on its nose. Roar! The devil-armored leopard was blasted flying a long distance away, and let out a hissing sound. The prodigal didn't seem to intend to let the devil-armored leopard go just like that. His figure once again chased after it, and his fists violently bombarded the devil-armored leopard. Although the devil-armored leopard was at the peak of the 6th rank, it was seriously injured first, and the prodigal had the power of a divine beast to suppress it. Therefore, it was beaten by the prodigal until it had no strength to fight back. The savage leopard at the side wiped off his cold sweat. He was wondering if he would also be abused like this if he were to fight with this little guy. The devil-armored leopard was beaten to the point that it couldn't stand it anymore. As it fled, it let out whimpering sounds for mercy. The prodigal ignored the devil-armored leopard and caught up to it. He grabbed its tail and then ruthlessly swung it up. After the prodigal swung the devil-armored leopard a few times, he forcefully threw it. Boom! The devil-armored leopard flew out like a cannonball and finally crashed into a mountain peak. Its huge body smashed the mountain peak into a huge crater. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the prodigal's strength was. The prodigal raised his fist proudly and shouted, "I thought you had some skills, but I didn't expect you to be so cowardly." Seeing that the prodigal had stopped, the savage leopard hurriedly chased after him and shouted, "Zai! Zai Zai, don't kill it." The prodigal glanced at the savage leopard and said, "What did you call me?" The savage leopard was stunned for a moment and said, "Zai Zai." "Bastard, Zai Zai can only be called boss. You don't have the qualifications." The prodigal glared at the savage leopard angrily, as if he wanted to fight with the savage leopard. The savage leopard quickly took a few steps back, then waved his hand and said, Then I won't call you that, but I don't know how to address you?" The prodigal pondered for a moment and said, "Boss is my boss, then I'm boss's younger brother. You call boss young master. Then you can call me second young master." The savage leopard was about to get dizzy from the prodigal's tongue twister, but he didn't dare to flare up. He immediately bowed slightly and said, "Yes, from now on I'll call you second young master." The prodigal smiled proudly and said, "Okay, from now on second young master will protect you. Whoever dares to touch you, I'll eat them." The savage leopard wiped his cold sweat and thought, could it be that this second young master is a cannibal? "Oh right, didn't you want that leopard? Go down now, if it dares to make another sound, I'll eat it." The prodigal pointed at the devil-armored leopard that was struggling to get up. The savage leopard responded and quickly landed. He had to think of a way to subdue the devil-armored leopard first. At this time, Ling Xiao had already come back to his senses and looked at the magic emperor flower in his hand. The stem of this flower was extremely thin, but the flower's bones and petals were extremely large. There were even golden patterns on the petals, making it look very beautiful and noble. Anyone who saw it would have the urge to take it for themselves. This flower was really worthy of the title, Devil Emperor. Chapter 525. Once they saw the blood-winged eagle, they would be stained with blood. Once they saw the Devil Emperor flower, they would become an emperor. The Devil Emperor flower was a top-grade non-elemental high-grade spirit flower. Its value was comparable to a 7th-grade spirit herb. In the Blood Demon territory, countless people wanted to find the Devil Emperor flower. However, there were too many powerful spirit beasts here. If they were not careful, they would become food for the spirit beasts. Therefore, many people went around in circles for a long time without seeing the Devil Emperor flower. However, there were also people who obtained the Devil Emperor flower by chance. Ling Xiao did not expect that he would obtain such a precious spirit herb on his first trip to the Blood Demon territory. Ling Xiao carefully put away the Devil Emperor flower. He did not intend to eat it immediately. "I saw the Devil Emperor flower. I just don't know what the blood-winged eagle looks like," Ling Xiao murmured. If others heard Ling Xiao's words, they would probably fall to the ground. The blood wind eagle was not only a frightening high-grade spirit beast, but also a spirit beast that lived in groups. One blood wind eagle might not be scary to many powerhouses. However, if 10, 30, 50 of them appeared at the same time, then even an Empyrean-level powerhouse would have to flee at the sight of them. The blood wind eagle was naturally bloodthirsty and liked to kill. Once it targeted a prey, it would definitely not rest until it was dead. Even spirit beasts that were of a higher level than them did not dare to provoke them. This was also why the blood wind eagle was famous in the blood demon territory. However, Ling Xiao actually said that he wanted to see the blood wind eagle. It really made people speechless. However, Ling Xiao was really a person who would do what he said. When the cruel leopard happily subdued the magic armored leopard, Ling Xiao called him and flew in a certain direction. The most taboo thing in the blood demon territory was flying. The blood wind eagle was the overlord of the sky above the blood demon territory. The sky was their domain. Once someone dared to fly in the sky, they would immediately become the target of the blood wind eagle. If not for this, many powerhouses would not need to walk to cross the blood demon territory. They could just fly over directly. When Ling Xiao flew over, Savage Leopard and Prodigal Boy followed behind. The Savage Leopard was a celestial venerable, so it naturally wouldn't be too afraid of a fifth-stage spirit beast. And there was nothing that could scare the Prodigal. Therefore, none of them tried to dissuade Ling Xiao. "Why don't I see those feathered beasts?" Ling Xiao muttered as he looked at the calm sky in disappointment. Many mercenaries and merchants below the forest saw Ling Xiao's group flying in the air. All of them were so surprised that they couldn't close their mouths. "Look, someone is flying." "That's right. Could they be retarded? How dare you fly above the blood demon territory? I think that they must have just arrived in the blood demon region and don't know what's going on. It looks like they're preparing to kill a few more innocent people. There's going to be a good show to watch. I haven't seen the blood wind eagles in a long time, so I'll be able to see them again today." Just as Ling Xiao was feeling depressed, the result he had hoped for appeared. "Yo!" An eagle's cry rang out from a direction. A black dot flew over from the other side of the sky. Ling Xiao was overjoyed. "You're finally out." However, Ling Xiao's smile didn't last long before it froze. His expression changed 180 degrees and became incomparably terrified. Could this be a locust plague? No. It should be an eagle beast plague," Ling Xiao muttered with a pale face. Then he let out a strange cry. F***ck run. After Ling Xiao finished shouting, he immediately fled into the forest. That speed was the first time in his life that he had been so fast. The savage leopard behind him wasn't much slower and followed closely behind Ling Xiao. The prodigal was a little puzzled, but he also followed and fled. Why did Ling Xiao and the savage leopard escape so quickly? What a joke! How could they not escape? Looking at the black mass of blood wind eagles in the sky, even a blind person would know to escape. These blood wind eagles numbered in the hundreds, if not 1,000. They were all 5th-rank high-tier spirit beasts. Even a high-level celestial venerable could only escape. Ling Xiao had heard that blood wind eagles were spirit beasts that lived in groups, but he never thought that it would be such a large flock. He originally thought that if there were a dozen or dozens of them, it wouldn't be difficult to deal with them with his side's strength. However, hundreds of them appeared at once. This gave him a headache. This time, he was embarrassed. He originally wanted to show off his might and capture a few blood wind eagles as mounts, but now he had to flee at the sight of the wind. Blood wind eagles were never kind creatures. Once a target was targeted, it was very rare for them to escape from them. Even though Ling Xiao and the savage leopard escaped quickly, they also followed into the forest. They were determined to catch these few humans that provoked them. Some of the mercenaries and merchants nearby were so frightened that they jumped up and down. They were deathly afraid of being targeted by the blood wind eagles. Then they would be finished. They cursed the Ling Xiao trio to death in their hearts. Ling Xiao's escape method was very straightforward. He immediately circulated the concealing breath technique and drilled into a patch of grass. He blasted out another hole and directly jumped in. Then, he used the grass to cover the hole. He finished these actions in just a few blinks of an eye. The blood wind eagles had not arrived yet. The savage leopard followed suit and also followed Ling Xiao to dig a hole not far away and jumped in. Only the prodigal stood on the spot, somewhat puzzled. He looked at those blood-wind eagles flying over and muttered, "These little eagles aren't anything to be afraid of. What's boss afraid of?" When a large flock of blood-wind eagles arrived above Ling Xiao and the rest, all the blood-wind eagles were about to pounce down towards Ling Xiao and the rest. Ling Xiao had the concealing breath technique and was not afraid of being detected by the blood-wind eagles. However, the savage leopard was not so lucky. He thought that he could imitate Ling Xiao and avoid the blood-wind eagles' pursuit. However, the blood-wind eagles were able to recognize his aura. The ferocious blood-wind eagles let out high-pitched screeches. One of the blood-wind eagles swooped down towards the savage leopard. It extended its sharp claws and clawed at it. The savage leopard reacted quickly. Before the blood-wind eagle could grab him, he immediately broke through the ground and punched the blood-wind eagle. Puh! Although the blood-wind eagle was strong, it could not withstand the full force of the savage leopard's attack. The eagle's abdomen was immediately penetrated by the savage leopard's punch. The other blood-wind eagle's eyes turned red when they saw blood. In an instant, more than 10 of them pounced towards the savage leopard. The blood-wind eagles revealed ferocious gazes and opened their bloody mouths to peck at the savage leopard. The savage leopard did not even think. A blood-devouring demon blade appeared in his hand and he displayed an imposing aura filled with killing intent. "Come on, let this emperor practice." The savage leopard was a bloodthirsty demon. He roared and raised the blood-devouring demon blade to meet the blood-wind eagles pouncing at him. 8 forms of devil blade. Rampaging devil chi. With the savage leopard as the center, dense black gas blossomed. The black gas turned into blades that chopped towards the blood-wind eagles. Poo-pee-you! Before the blood-wind eagles could even touch the savage leopard, their claws were chopped off and their stomachs were pierced. Pools of blood were left behind. If it was any other spirit beast, they would have immediately turned tail and fled in the face of such a powerful opponent. However, the blood-wind eagles would not do that. No matter how powerful their prey was, as long as they were not completely dead, they would continue to fight with their lives on the line. However, these blood-wind eagles would not recklessly charge down like the ones before. Instead, they consciously chose to attack from a distance. They formed a large encirclement around the savage leopard's head. Soon after, they let out a series of cries. Following that, terrifying wind blades shot towards the savage leopard like rain. Even though the savage leopard was very powerful, it had the thought of collapsing in the face of this rain of attacks. He did not even think about it and chose to escape. However, he did not understand. Why did the blood-wind eagles only attack him and not his young master? Also, the blood-wind eagles did not seem to attack the second young master? He wanted to cry in his heart. Could it be that there is a problem with this emperor's character? The savage leopard had not escaped far before the prodigal blocked him. "Second young master, quickly escape. There are too many of these blood-wind eagles. We are not their match," the savage leopard said to the prodigal anxiously. "What are you afraid of? Didn't I say that I will protect you? What is there to be afraid of these little eagles?" The prodigal patted the savage leopard's shoulder in a very old-fashioned manner. At this moment, the blood-wind eagles caught up to them again. The savage leopard cried out bitterly. He knew that the second young master in front of him was not bad, but there were too many blood-wind eagles. How could the two of them hold them off? However, in the next moment, he was dumbfounded. The prodigal pulled him to the back and opened his mouth towards the blood-wind eagles in the sky. Roar! The prodigal's eyes revealed a ferocious glint. A powerful aura soared into the sky, and a Qilin's shadow bloomed above his head. It was as if the roar came from the Qilin's shadow. When the blood-wind eagles faced this roar, they were shaken to the point that they stopped moving. Their blood-red eyes revealed a look of fear. It was as if they saw a beast king in front of them. Its aura was so oppressive that they did not dare to move recklessly. Not only did the blood-wind eagles feel the supreme aura, but even the nearby spirit beasts felt the majesty of the Qilin divine beast. Many low-level spirit beasts prostrated themselves. Among the blood-wind eagles above the prodigal and the savage leopard's heads, a larger blood-wind eagle slowly descended. It screeched a few times at the prodigal, and its eyes were filled with a strong sense of doubt. The prodigal let out another roar at it. This time, the blood-wind eagle didn't hesitate any longer and prostrated itself before the prodigal. The other blood-wind eagles also descended from the sky and prostrated themselves before the prodigal. They all let out screeching sounds, as if they were trying to convey some sort of message. Ling Xiao crawled out from the ground. Looking at the black mass of blood-winged eagles, he was first stunned. Then, he looked at the prodigal, who was not far away, and immediately understood what was going on. Good lad, you actually know how to do this. Ling Xiao was overjoyed. Then, he quickly dashed towards the prodigal. When the prodigal saw Ling Xiao coming out, he called out to him, "Boss, how is it?" "I'm awesome, right?" The prodigal was like a naughty child asking for praise as he fawned on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao heavily patted the prodigal's shoulder and said, "Well done. Boss will reward you handsomely later." Chapter 526. The Qilan mythical beast was one of the 9 ancient mythical beasts. It was once the emperor of the spiritual beasts and was an overlord that commanded tens of thousands of beasts. Although the prodigal was still in the growth stage, he possessed the purest Qilan bloodline. The pressure of a mythical beast that he emitted was not something that ordinary spiritual beasts could resist. Although the blood-winged eagles were bloodthirsty and murderous, when facing the king of beasts, they would also feel the pressure of submitting. What's more, the prodigal had displayed all of his divine might this time, so how could they not submit? Ling Xiao sized up the blood-winged eagles and felt that they were pleasing to the eye and pleasing to the eye. Every blood-winged eagle was extremely strong. Their ferocious red eyes emitted a sharp and bloodthirsty glint. Their smooth wings emitted a faint cold aura, as if they could transform into 10,000 sharp blades and cut their throats at any time. The vigorous and powerful eagle claws tightly gripped the ground, leaving deep claw marks on the ground. Okay, I want all of these blood-winged eagles. Ling Xiao arrogantly waved his hand and said. He felt that the prodigal was a Qilan prince after all. With his identity, he could make a rank 8 spiritual beast follow him. Thus, it shouldn't be a problem for him to take all of these shocked blood-winged eagles. Hearing this, the savage leopard almost fell down. These blood-winged eagles were really raised by him. If others were to hear this, they would probably laugh their heads off. The prodigal revealed a somewhat awkward expression, and then repeatedly let out low cries towards the largest blood-winged eagle. The blood-winged eagle also let out a cry, but its blood-red eyes were filled with unwillingness. Soon after, the prodigal cried out a few times in dissatisfaction, and even clenched his fist tightly and waved it a few times. It seemed that he was very dissatisfied with the blood-winged eagle. Ling Xiao, who was at the side, saw that something was amiss and immediately asked, "Zizi, could it be that these little eagles are unwilling to listen to you?" The prodigal revealed an embarrassed bitter smile and said, "Boss, they said that they don't want to follow you." Ling Xiao's expression stiffened, and he immediately said unhappily, I didn't expect these little eagles to be so arrogant. Forget it, I don't want them all to follow me. Just let it get a few dozen to follow me." Ling Xiao looked very uncomfortable. It was as if he had lost several pieces of meat. He still didn't understand that these blood-winged eagles weren't his spirit beasts. The prodigal and the blood-winged eagle continued to communicate in beast language. There were a few times when the prodigal almost attacked out of anger. In the end, the blood-winged eagle compromised and gave up 10 blood-winged eagles to chase after the human it disliked the most. However, in the end, Ling Xiao said decisively, "Seeing how reluctant it is to agree, I don't want 10. I want 9. Otherwise, people will say that I'm too greedy." Actually, it was not easy for Ling Xiao to arrange 10 blood-winged eagles, so he only needed 9. Ling Xiao planned to give 1 to the lone eagle and the other 8 to the 8 generals, just enough to form a team of blood-winged eagles. As for the other people's protective spirit beasts, they would have to wait until they found a suitable one. When the prodigal heard this, he felt that his boss was really understanding. On the contrary, he felt that the blood-winged eagle didn't know how to appreciate his kindness. However, if he knew that his boss's idea was just to make up the numbers, he didn't know how he would feel. In the end, 9 blood-winged eagles were left, and the other hundreds instantly disappeared into the horizon. Ling Xiao looked at the 9 majestic eagles and felt very refreshed. He immediately called the lone eagle and the 8 generals over, and had them bind the 9 blood-winged eagles with their blood. When the lone eagle and the 8 generals saw the 9 blood-winged eagles, they were naturally overjoyed. At the same time, their admiration for Ling Xiao was like a river overflowing, flowing endlessly. The scariest spirit beasts in the blood demon region did not cause any harm to Ling Xiao and the others. Instead, they left the 9 blood wind eagles behind. If other forces were to find out about this, they would probably prostrate themselves in worship. Ling Xiao was in a good mood, so he led everyone on their journey again. However, this time they did not walk directly. Instead, they flew directly in the sky. With the 9 majestic blood wind eagles leading the way in the sky, they did not have to worry about other blood wind eagles attacking them. This scene was seen by many mercenaries and merchants, and their jaws almost dropped. They were all secretly speculating whether a powerful force had come over and subdued these blood wind eagles. Originally, it would have taken 1 to 2 months to cross the blood demon region. However, with the blood wind eagles leading the way, the time was greatly reduced. It turned out that Ling Xiao and the others had already walked 1/3 of the way. Now that the blood wind eagles were leading them, it only took them 7 days to reach the edge of the blood demon region. The central region was already very close. The central region was a martial arts holy land that people yearned for. It was the most prosperous area in the center of the continent. When Ling Xiao and the others passed through the blood demon region, they felt that the spiritual energy in the world seemed to have become denser. Ling Xiao said in surprise, "The spiritual energy is so dense. What's going on?" Poison Scorpion explained, "We're about to reach the central region. The spiritual energy here is much denser than in other places." Ling Xiao sighed and said, "So that's how it is. No wonder the central region is famous throughout the continent. Just the spiritual qi here is comparable to that of an ordinary sex-blessed land. No matter where they are, ordinary people will be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort if they want to cultivate here. If they build a sect here and set up a spirit gathering formation, then the amount of spiritual qi gathered will be quite terrifying. The disciples of those sects will naturally be able to cultivate several times faster than others." After flying for another half an hour, they finally saw a very grand city. This city was much more magnificent than most of the cities in the northwest or the southern region. Only a few famous cities could compare to this place. The city walls, which were nearly 100 meters tall, were made of 1,000-year-old rocks. They gave people a feeling that they were very thick and sturdy. The walls were engraved with mysterious runes, giving people a strong sense of oppression. It was as if there was a terrifying ancient beast in front of them. However, this city was just an ordinary city in the central region. A real big city was dozens of times bigger than this. These words were not said by Poison Scorpion, but by Savage Leopard. Among the crowd, the one who truly understood the central region was, of course, Savage Leopard. Although thousands of years had passed, there were still many things that could not be easily erased by time. Everyone kept their spirit beasts and landed on the ground at the same time. At this time, Ling Xiao's women had also covered their faces with veils. These women were all peerless beauties to begin with. Moreover, they had all consumed 10,000-year pearls, so their temperament was no longer the same as before. No matter where they went, they would become the focus of everyone's attention. Therefore, Ling Xiao followed the principle of keeping a low profile and had them cover their faces with veils to reduce the attention of others. Ling Xiao and his group had just arrived, so they obviously could not be in the limelight too much. Everyone came to the city gate and saw a few bold and large words carved on the city gate, Broken Hill City. This was their first stop in the central region. As soon as they arrived, Ling Xiao and his group clearly felt many powerful auras. Ling Xiao lightly sighed and said, "The central region is indeed extraordinary." He became excited. This was the place that he had always been looking forward to. The more experts there were, the more interesting he felt. Perhaps it was only in such a place that he could truly become stronger. There were dozens of spirit masters and a few king-level guards guarding the city gate. Poison Scorpion seemed to be very familiar with this place. He took out enough mysterious crystals to hand over to the guards and the group entered the city. Inside the city, people came and went, and it was very lively. There were even many warriors riding spirit beasts and rampaging. It seemed that everyone's movements here were not restricted. It was not the first time that Ling Xiao had seen such a lively scene here. He had seen such a scene in Nantian City. It was said that Nantian City's Dong family's ancestor came from the central region, so the city where the Dong family was located was also managed according to the central region's model. This place seemed chaotic and disorderly, but the warriors riding spirit beasts restrained their spirit beasts very well. They would not hurt innocent people. Otherwise, if they caused trouble, there would definitely be experts guarding the city to come out and deal with them. However, if they really wanted to resolve their disputes, it was possible. Because there was an arena for private fights in the city, anyone who wanted to resolve their disputes could do so in the arena. Life and death were up to fate. This was also one of the characteristics of the central region cities. Ling Xiao, Cruel Leopard, and Poison Scorpion could all be considered people who had seen the market, but it was the first time for the others to experience such a novel environment. Looking at the dazzling and deceptive shops here, everyone was dazzled. The girls paid attention to the high-grade silk and satin shops. Looking at the fabrics made of precious materials, they were all excited. Hua Xiaogu'e, on the other hand, was constantly paying attention to the warriors who were hawking spirit herbs on both sides of the official road. His eyes were fixed on them. He found that the rank 3 and 4 spirit herbs here were very obvious. As long as you had mysterious crystals, you could buy them all. You could even find 1 or 2 rank 5 spirit herbs. However, he didn't have many treasures, and his mysterious crystals were limited. It was impossible to buy high-level spirit herbs. Ling Xiao patted his shoulder and said, "Hurry up and advance to the rank 4 realm. Don't worry about the spirit herbs." Hua Xiaogu knew Ling Xiao's ability, so he immediately nodded and said, "Boss, don't worry. I will improve as soon as possible." Hua Xiaogu'e was already at the intermediate king stage. Refining a rank 4 medicinal pill was only a matter of comprehension and experience. Ling Xiao was very confident in Hua Xiaogu'e's tenbin, because Hua Xiaogu'e was much more persistent in refining medicine than him. The group walked around many places, and everyone's faces were filled with excitement. They finally saw what a bustling city was like. They were now like country people going to a city, as if everything they saw was interesting. At this time, Tang Guoda, who rarely spoke along the way, pulled Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao turned his head and asked, "Brother Tang, what's wrong?" Tang Guoda was an outstanding young refiner that Ling Xiao had roped in from the Tang family. If he wanted to establish a force in the future, of course, he couldn't do without an important role like a refiner. Tang Guoda revealed a pleasantly surprised expression and pointed in a direction. "I saw 1,000-year silver vein stone." Chapter 527. 1,000-year silver pattern stone was a precious material for refining tools. Any Xian artifact that was added with 1,000-year silver pattern stone could increase its toughness by a lot, and it could also increase the grade of the Xian artifact. This kind of material was extremely attractive to any refiner. Tang Guoda came from a family of refiners, so his desire for refining materials was naturally the same as Hua Xiaogui's desire for spirit herbs. The person selling the silver pattern stone was a middle-aged man at the king level. He looked a little slovenly, and there were a few silver pattern stones at his feet. If it wasn't for the refiner, most people would only treat those stones as ordinary stones, because there didn't seem to be anything special about them. "Uncle, how much is this silver pattern stone?" Tang Guoda walked in front of the middle-aged man and asked. The middle-aged man glanced at Tang Guoda and said lightly, 10,000 mid-grade Xian crystals. "WH, what's so expensive?" Tang Guoda said in surprise. Tang Guoda knew the value of the silver pattern stone. These silver pattern stones should be around 300 kilograms, and should be worth 600,000 low-grade Xian crystals, which was 6,000 mid-grade Xian crystals. But the other party asked for 10,000 mid-grade Xian crystals. One had to know that although the silver pattern stone was rare and precious, it was only used by refiners. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was just a useless stone. "Sell it or not, don't block my business," the middle-aged man said in a bad mood. Hua Xiaogu'e said, "Brother Tang, let's go, he's obviously cheating people." Just as Hua Xiaogu'e was about to pull Tang Guoda away, a strong man hurriedly walked over. 10,000 mid-grade Xian crystals. I want this silver pattern stone. The strong man was also very straightforward, and directly threw out a pile of mid-grade Xian crystals, and then took the middle-aged man's silver pattern stone. He then said, "In the future, bring all of these stones to me, Li Han." The middle-aged man immediately revealed a fawning smile and said, "So it's Master Li. In the future, if I have this material, I will definitely give it to you first." The middle-aged man lightly responded, and then left without looking at anyone else. The middle-aged man happily put away the Xian crystals and prepared to leave. Uncle, wait a moment. Tang Guada unwillingly stopped the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man said impatiently, "What else is there?" "Was that person a refiner?" Tang Guada asked. The middle-aged man looked him up and down, then said, "One look and I can tell that you are an outsider. That person just now is Master Li Han, a Tier 4 blacksmith in this city. He often comes to our scattered places to look for refining materials. Since he's a refiner, he should know that this silver-veined stone isn't worth such a high price," Tang Guada said, puzzled. The middle-aged man said angrily, "Young man, you are so insensible. The price of our distribution center is 30% of the price of those shops. Just like how many silver grain stones I just had, it would cost at least 13,000 mid-grade profound crystals to buy." With that, the middle-aged man squeezed through the crowd and disappeared into the stream of people. Tang Guaga was still in a daze, not knowing what he was thinking. Meanwhile, Ling Xiao patted him on the shoulder and said, "Let's go. Everything in the central territory is much more expensive than where we are. You'll slowly get used to it in the future." On the way here, Poison Scorpion, Savage Leopard, and Wei Lin Lin had told him many things about the central region, so he had a little understanding of this place. The cost of living in the central region was more than double that of the northwest or the southern region. Tang Guaga smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Looks like I'm just a frog at the bottom of a well." In the past, Tang Guaga was the successor of the Tang family's future patriarch, and he was also the youngest and most outstanding refiner in the history of the Tang family. He had traveled to many places and thought that his horizons were not low. However, when he first arrived in the central region and faced a small transaction, he realized that his horizons were still so small. Hua Xiaogui enthusiastically put her arm around Tang Guaga's shoulder and said, "Brother Tang and I are the same. However, as long as we follow boss, I believe that with our abilities, we will definitely be able to stand out in the central region." Tang Guaga glanced at Hua Xiaogui, then turned his gaze to Ling Xiao, then nodded and said, "That's right, I, Tang Guaga, have been a genius in smithing since I was young. Even if I come to the central region, I won't lose to anyone else." This was the first time Tang Guaga had displayed his confidence. This was also destined to have extraordinary achievements in the field of smithing in the future. Ling Xiao led the group of people to walk in the city for half a day, but they had only covered a third of the city. In this half a day, everyone's horizons had been broadened, and they had truly experienced the prosperity of a big city. In this half a day, Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guaga had bought a lot of things. However, the Xian crystals they had brought with them were almost all gone. This caused their expressions to turn ugly. Without Xian crystals, it meant that they would not have a good life in the future. In this kind of city, most transactions were done with Xian crystals, and only some daily necessities would use gold coins. Ling Xiao saw their confusion and immediately rewarded each of them with 2 spatial rings. This is a private sponsorship. If you want to earn Xian crystals in the future, it will depend on your ability, Ling Xiao said. "Boss, you're too good to us." Hua Xiaogui took the spatial ring and exclaimed. Tang Guaga was a little embarrassed and said, "Brother Ling, how can I accept this?" "Take it, it's not mine anyway," Ling Xiao said indifferently. These spatial rings were all obtained from dead people, so he did not care what peerless treasures were in them. Anyway, he still had a lot of spatial rings like this. "My husband has been walking for a long time, let's find a place to rest," Kai Shiua said from the side. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "Okay, let's rest first." After such a long journey, they really needed a good rest. They found an inn, booked a room, and stayed there for the time being. After freshening up, Ling Xiao took everyone to a high-end restaurant to enjoy foreign cuisine. Ling Xiao and the others chose a quiet corner, put together a few tables, and sat down one by one. At the table, everyone was very excited about what they had seen and heard today. After 3 rounds of wine, Ling Xiao called Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guaga to a room to discuss matters. Ling Xiao first sighed, "We've finally arrived at the central region." Hua Xiaogui then sighed, "Yes, the cities of the central region are really big and bustling. I don't want to go back to the sect after coming here. It's too boring there." Hua Xiaogui's words were true. Although the Purple Sky sect was an 8th grade sect, and the Purple Sky city under its direct jurisdiction was also a good city, it was still far from here. Could the Purple Sky sect find rank 3 and 4 spirit herbs everywhere? Would he be able to occasionally encounter a 5th-grade spiritual herb? Impossible. Unless the elders of the sect personally went out to find them, it would be very difficult to find rank 4 and above spirit herbs. But in this city, they could be seen everywhere, and as long as there were enough profound crystals, they could be traded. Hua Xiaogui naturally liked the environment here. Tang Guoge also responded, "Not bad, the central region is more prosperous than I thought, and there are a lot of refining materials." As the saying goes, benevolent people see benevolence. Wise people see benevolence. Hua Xiaogui was an alchemist, so what she saw were countless spirit herbs, while Tang Guoge was a refiner, so what he saw were many refining materials. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "I only know that the people here are very powerful." Ling Xiao yearned for the peak of martial arts, so of course, what he saw was different. "That's right, I've seen a lot of king stage experts along the way, as if the king stage isn't worth much here." Hua Xiaogui replied a little dejectedly. "That's not entirely true. Although there are many king stage experts, there aren't many who are as young as us." Tang Guoge added from the side. Ling Xiao said, Brother Tang is right. Although there are many king stage experts, there aren't many who are as young as us. But don't forget, this is only the most remote city in the central region, and it might even be the most backward city. This place has already made us gasp in amazement, so you can imagine how prosperous the other cities in the central region are. Ling Xiao brought up the topic that he wanted to talk about when he summoned the two of them over. "Boss, you're right. Then are we going to travel around the central region this time?" Hua Xiaogui asked. Tang Guoge also looked at Ling Xiao with a puzzled expression. Back then, he had been bewitched by Ling Xiao, which was why he had given up the glory of his family and followed him to the central region. Now, he really wanted to know what exactly Ling Xiao wanted to do. Ling Xiao glanced at the two of them, stood up and said faintly, "I want to establish my own power." This was the first time that Ling Xiao had revealed his thoughts in front of others. Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guoge's bodies trembled, and then they looked at Ling Xiao. They couldn't help but feel that his figure seemed to have become incomparably tall at this moment. Ling Xiao didn't wait for them to come back to their senses before he continued. "Not only do I want to establish my own power, but I also want to become a powerful power that is famous in the central region. I want others to not dare to have any designs on us, and I want everyone to respect us when they see us." When Ling Xiao said this, he couldn't help but release a golden aura. At this moment, he was like an emperor, causing Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guoge to feel a deep sense of submission. "Boss, do you want to establish a mercenary group or a sect?" Hua Xiaogui asked when he came back to his senses. Ling Xiao shook his head. "Neither." "What is it?" Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guoge asked in unison. "I just want to establish my own free power." Ling Xiao replied very seriously. "Free power?" The two of them didn't understand. "It means a power that doesn't need other people to interfere or tell us what to do. We can do whatever we want, and we don't need to look at other people's faces," Ling Xiao explained. "Oh, I understand." Hua Xiaogui responded with a look of realization. Tang Guoge asked, "What do you understand?" "Boss wants to be roving bandits," Hua Xiaogui said with certainty. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao and Tang Guoge instantly fell to the ground. Hua Xiaogui looked at the two of them and scratched his head. "Did I say something wrong? Don't those roving bandits do whatever they want?" Ling Xiao jumped up and heavily patted Hua Xiaogui's head. "Have you ever seen such a handsome and invincible roving bandits like Boss?" Hua Xiaogui said embarrassedly, "No." Unexpectedly the next moment, Ling Xiao said, "Little Turtle's suggestion is not bad. Being roving bandits is cooler than being a mercenary or a sect leader." This time, it was Hua Xiaogui's turn to faint. Chapter 528. Ling Zhao's ambition was undoubtedly great, so great that Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guoge could only look up to him. However, neither of them felt that Ling Xiao was the kind of person who would brag without thinking about the cost. Because Ling Xiao had the strength and qualifications to do so. They already knew that the people around Ling Xiao were unimaginably powerful, especially the tower-like brawny man in the interspatial ring, who was an existence that even the sixth-order flood dragon was afraid of. In fact, even Ling Xiao himself did not know what kind of force he wanted to establish in line with his character. He was a person who did not like to be restrained by others, and at the same time, he was not a person who was good at management. He only liked to do things as he pleased, and as long as others did not provoke him, he would be satisfied. This request seemed very simple, but it was extremely difficult to achieve. For example, if Ling Xiao took a few of his beauties around the city, there would definitely be lecherous people looking for trouble. Another example was if Ling Xiao found some kind of rare treasure and it was known by others, then there would definitely be people coming to rob it. Another example was if high-rank alchemists knew that he had a rare pearl, then there would definitely be many alchemists coming to find trouble with him. There would definitely be too many things like this to deal with. Therefore, in order to prevent such things from happening, Ling Xiao must establish his own force. Not only for himself, but also for his family and friends around him. He hoped that one day, he could casually announce the name of his force and everyone would have to give way. Therefore, Ling Xiao's ambition was still very great. Because to reach that level, he had to become an existence like the most powerful 18 great forces in the central region. In the central region, these 18 great forces were the pinnacle of existence, and other forces basically did not dare to provoke them. The reason why Ling Xiao confided in Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guagua was entirely because he hoped to use their strength to achieve what he wanted. Hua Xiaogui had always been firm with his words, and Tang Guagua still needed further communication to make foolproof preparations. Of course, the reason why Ling Xiao valued the two of them so much was naturally because of their professional relationship. Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guada were respectively an alchemist and a weapon refiner. Both professions were the most respectable professions on the continent. Once they grew up, their rallying power would definitely be terrifying. In this way, they would definitely gather many experts to follow them in the future, and it would be hard for their forces not to grow stronger. This was the real reason why Ling Xiao had abducted Tang Guagua from the Tang family to the central region. As for Ling Xiao himself, of course, he was also an apothecary. Before Hua Xiaogui matured, he naturally had to take on more work. However, he didn't have so much time to spend on alchemy, so he could only train Hua Xiaogui to replace his position. He just wanted to be a small leader who didn't care about anything. After listening to Ling Xiao's words, both Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guada felt a little incredulous. At the same time, the blood in their bodies seemed to be a little boiling. They were all young people, and they were all outstanding young people with ideals and ambitions. Ling Xiao's words had undoubtedly given them a definite goal. As for this goal, it seemed a little out of reach, but as long as Ling Xiao existed, it seemed possible. Therefore, they had already decided to work hard to follow Ling Xiao and achieve their grand dream. For the next few days, Ling Xiao and the others spent their time in Shatterhill City. They had just arrived in the central region, so there was a lot of information they needed to understand. Otherwise, there was no point in acting blindly. Other than that, Ling Xiao also asked around about the Black Water sect. Unfortunately, no one had heard of this sect. Ling Xiao was extremely puzzled. Could it be that he had been tricked by that old woman? Of course, that old woman had praised their Black Water sect for being a fifth-rank sect with a great reputation in the middle region. They knew where to go after asking around. Now that this situation had occurred, Ling Xiao couldn't be at ease with Yun Mingqi's safety. He had to find the Black Water sect as soon as possible. Looks like we can only go to the Yi family. Ling Xiao frowned and sighed. Feng Xianyun hugged Ling Xiao's waist from behind. Are you thinking about big sister Mingqi again? Ling Xiao had never hidden anything about Yun Mingqi from Feng Xianyun. Feng Xianyun also knew that they only had one goal, and that was to find Yun Mingqi as soon as possible. Even though she was a little jealous, she could see that Ling Xiao was an absolutely responsible man. Ling Xiao patted the back of Feng Xianyun's delicate hand. You just want to find her as soon as possible. When the time comes, we'll be together and find a place to live. We won't be apart for the rest of our lives. Feng Xianyun rolled her eyes at Ling Xiao. I knew you were a greedy person. Now that you have so many sisters, you're not allowed to find other women. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Ling Xiao laughed dryly. Of course not, it's already hard for my husband to deal with all of you. You're so annoying. Feng Xianyun lightly punched Ling Xiao. On the next day, Ling Xiao and the others began to rush towards Yi Family City. It would take half a month to fly from Shatterhill City to Yi Family City, and there were several cities and many mountain ranges between them. Originally, Ling Xiao and the others could also use the transmission formation to reach Yi Family City. However, everyone wanted to see the scenery of the central region, so they chose to fly. In the sky above the central region, many martial artists could be seen riding on flying spirit beasts. However, when those confident martial artists saw Ling Xiao and the others flying over, they were so scared that they almost fell from the sky. Their mounts didn't even need to be ordered to hide far away. The 9 blood-wind eagles were powerful existences, and they were also very bloodthirsty. Once they were targeted, they would definitely not have a good ending. They all muttered in their hearts, "Who is so terrifying to actually subdue a blood-wind eagle?" On the 11th day, Ling Xiao and the others finally arrived at Yi Family City. Originally, the journey was estimated to take half a month, but the speed of the blood-wind eagle was so fast that it had shortened the time by a few days. Yi Family City was much larger than Shatterhill City, and its degree of prosperity was also not something that Shatterhill City could compare to. This was because the Yi family was considered a famous family in the vicinity. If one were to say how powerful the Yi family was, then it was at least comparable to a 7th-grade sect. It was said that the Yi family's ancestor had been a heavenly venerable 500 years ago, and the Yi family also had another heavenly venerable. At the same time, the Yi family also had a 6th-grade high-grade spirit beast that guarded the family. This was also the reason why the Yi family had been prosperous for so long. Although the Yi family's strength was not bad, it could only be considered a third-rate family in the central region. Compared to many other forces, it was still very far away. In the vicinity, the Zhang family of the Zhang family city was equally famous as the Yi family. The two cities were neighbors, and the ancestors of the two families were good friends. Therefore, the relationship between the two families had always been very good. However, this relationship could not be maintained forever. Now, the Yi family and the Zhang family had become irreconcilable enemies. The reason was very simple. 20 years ago, the Yi family had discovered a crystal mine in a mountain range. A crystal mine, no matter where it was, would be extremely desirable for any force to obtain it. However, not long after the Yi family discovered this crystal mine, the Zhang family also learned of this news. Of course, the Zhang family was envious that the Yi family had found such an enviable crystal mine. If the Yi family completely mined this crystal mine, they would greatly surpass the Zhang family in terms of resources. Between the two families, there would definitely be a situation where one was stronger and the other was weaker. Of course, the Zhang family did not want this situation to happen. In the end, they could not hold back and made their request to the Yi family. This request was hoping that the Zhang family could mine the crystal mine together with the Yi family and split the mysterious crystals in the crystal mine equally. One had to admit that the Zhang family's request was very excessive. However, they boldly and confidently said that the two families had always been close like brothers and that good things should naturally be shared. Of course, the Yi family immediately rejected the Zhang family's unreasonable request. What a joke! Would you let others eat half of the fat meat that was already in your mouth? This was obviously impossible. Therefore, the Zhang family was not reconciled and actually chose to split the two sides. Since their family could not get a share of the pie, then the Yi family should not even think about getting a share. Therefore, the Zhang family sent people to spread the news that the Yi family had found the crystal mine. This was great. The crystal mine was something that any force coveted. This news was quickly spread to the ears of some of the nearby forces. The Yi family's crystal mine did not have much to mine before it was jointly divided by these forces. The Yi family was filled with hatred. These days it was not easy to find a crystal mine, but it was actually gone just like that. Facing these forces that were similar to the Yi family, they also had no way to resist all of them. Therefore, the Yi family transferred this hatred to the Zhang family who spread the news. The Yi family went to the Zhang family to reason with them, but the Zhang family flatly denied that they were the ones who spread the news. Therefore, the two families fought. Although the two families did not cause too many casualties, the relationship between the two families was also severed because of this. Today, 20 years later, the two families were still in a situation of confrontation. However, it seemed that the Zhang family did not want this antagonistic relationship to continue. The Zhang family actually had the cheek to propose marriage to the Yi family. If it was someone else, they would definitely think that the Zhang family was crazy. But in fact, the Zhang family was not crazy. Because as early as 20 years ago, before the Zhang family and the Yi family formed a hostile relationship, the Zhang family and the Yi family's patriarch had already arranged for their children to be married before they were born. In fact, The Zhang family and the Yi family had many marriages in the past. But the problem was that the relationship between the two families was so tense now, and the Zhang family actually dared to propose marriage. This really made the people of the Yi clan furious. However, after learning a piece of news, everyone in the Yi family did not dare to make a sound, and the Yi family's patriarch finally agreed to the marriage. And this news was that the son of the Zhang family's patriarch, who was also the main character of this marriage, had become a true disciple of the 6th grade sect, Golden Fist sect. His position in the Golden Fist sect was quite high, and he was very liked by the elders. The Golden Fist sect was the most powerful sect within tens of thousands of miles of the Zhang family and Yi family. They were famous for their fist techniques, and there were many experts in the sect. It was not something that ordinary families could compare to. The Zhang family had the backing of the Golden Fist sect, so they had the confidence to go to the Zhang family again for a marriage alliance. Of course, this marriage was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. However, before the Zhang family and Yi family were about to hold the marriage alliance, the daughter of the Yi family's patriarch disappeared. This forced the two families to terminate the marriage alliance. Who knew that the Zhang family would use this as a pretext, saying that the Yi family did not keep their promise, and demanded an explanation from the Yi family. If they did not comply, then the Yi family would be eliminated. Chapter 529. The patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Lingchong, was in his 60s and was already a low-level earth sovereign. He had a son and a daughter, Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing. Both of them were outstanding cultivators of the younger generation in Tenbin. Yi Yunfeng was only 27 years old but was already a high-level king. His daughter was also very powerful. She was only 21 years old but was already a mid-level king. This pair of children was Yi Lingchong's greatest pride and hope for the future of the Yi family. However, Yi Lingchong was extremely angry about the Zhang family's marriage, but under great pressure, he chose to compromise. Of course, this compromise was only an expedient measure. He just wanted to stabilize the Zhang family's position, and then send his daughter away from the Yi family. Yi Lingchong didn't want to marry his most beloved daughter to the Zhang family. He had already guessed that the Zhang family's sudden marriage proposal was just an excuse. Although he didn't know what their goal was, Yi Lingchong still took precautions. He thought that with his daughter's disappearance, the Zhang family would give up on the marriage. Who knew that this would force the Zhang family to reveal their true purpose of the marriage? The Zhang family wanted to obtain the Yi family's exclusive secret technique, the Spirit Ascension technique. The Spirit Ascension technique wasn't a mystical skill. It was a secret technique and a rare cultivation technique. The person who mastered the Spirit Ascension technique could increase his combat power by 3 times in a fight for 2 hours. After that, the user's combat power would disappear temporarily, and they wouldn't be able to use spiritual power for 7 days. The effect of the Spirit Ascension technique seemed to be similar to some kind of medicinal pill that could increase combat power. However, the user could recover their combat power after 7 days and there wouldn't be any side effects like medicinal pills. This kind of secret technique was very rare in the continent, and it was what the Yi family had been relying on for a long time. Think about it. If 2 martial artists of the same level were to fight and one of them could suddenly increase his combat power by 3 times, it would be obvious who would win and who would lose. The Zhang family and the Yi family had been on good terms for generations and naturally knew about the existence of the Spirit Ascension technique. However, they had never seen the mnemonic chant. The Zhang family had always been jealous of the Yi family's Spirit Ascension technique. However, the Yi family wasn't any weaker than the Zhang family. It was impossible to snatch it by force. Therefore they came up with the idea of a marriage alliance. Because in the Yi family, only a few direct descendants of the Yi family could cultivate the Spirit Ascension chant. Yi Shuiqing was Yi Lingchong's daughter, so she would definitely cultivate the Spirit Ascension chant. Therefore, the Zhang family wanted to marry Yi Shuiqing into their Zhang family. So wouldn't it be easy for them to obtain the Spirit Ascension art from her? However, they did not expect the Yi family to play a game of disappearance with them. As a last resort, the Zhang family could only shed all pretense of cordiality and use the name of the Golden Fist sect to force the Yi family to hand over the Spirit Ascension technique. Otherwise, the Yi family would be eliminated. If the Zhang family wanted to deal with the Yi family, it could only be said to be a 50-50 chance. In the end, it was not certain who would be the winner. However, the Zhang family had the backing of the Golden Fist sect, so the Yi family had no choice but to worry. Once the Golden Fist sect went all out to help the Zhang family, then the Yi family would not be able to escape. Just as the Yi clan was in distress, Yi Shuiqing, who had escaped, returned to the clan. After Yi Shuiqing was rescued by Ling Xiao, he was handed over to Wei Linlin. Wei Linlin immediately rushed to the exit of the Blood Devil territory with Yi Shuiqing and returned to Yi Family City as fast as possible. However, the two of them rushed out of the Blood Devil territory half a month later than Ling Xiao and the others. This was because Ling Xiao and the others had flown over on the Blood-Wind Eagle. In other words, when Ling Xiao and the others were in Shatterhill City, the two of them were still hurrying through the Blood Devil territory. However, in the end, the two of them returned to Yi Family City one step ahead of Ling Xiao and the others. This was because the two of them did not fly from Shatterhill City to Yi Family City like Ling Xiao and the others did. Instead, they directly returned to Yi Family City through the transmission array in Shatterhill City. Yi Lingchong's son and daughter were both in Yi Lingchong's study. Yi Lingchong was in his 50s, but he looked like he was in his early 40s. He had an extraordinary appearance and his energy was restrained. Ordinary people would not be able to tell that his cultivation was already at the Earth Sovereign realm. Yi Yunfeng was 27 years old and full of heroic spirit. His stature was like a mountain and his aura was like a peak. He looked like an extremely brave and battle-hungry young man. Yi Shuiqing was dressed in light and elegant satin. Her body was exquisite and her temperament was excellent. She was a rare beauty. You two must leave Yi Family City as soon as possible, Yi Lingchong said with his hands behind his back and a worried expression on his face. Yi Yunfeng refused. Father, we don't need to be afraid of the Zhang family. At worst, we'll just break the net. It's good that things are so easy to resolve. Now that they've brought up the Golden Fist sect, it's clear that they want to use their power to suppress us. We're not afraid of the Zhang family, but the Golden Fist sect is not so easy to deal with. If you two leave, we won't have to worry about anything. Moreover, with your talents, you can definitely shake the Yi family's reputation in the future. At that time, we'll seek justice for our Yi family. Yi Shuiqing gritted her teeth. How about I marry into the Zhang family? That way, they won't have an excuse to threaten us. Seeing Yi Shuiqing's awkward expression, it was clear that she did not want to marry into the Zhang family. Yi Lingchong sighed. Don't you understand? The Zhang family's target is our Yi family's spirit ascension art. Now that we've shed all pretense of cordiality, it doesn't matter if you marry into the Zhang family or not. Father. Then let's flee. Yi Shuiqing said in fear. Although she was a mid-rank king rank expert, she didn't want all the members of her family to die here. Impossible. How can the son of the Yi family run away without a fight? Yi Yunfeng shouted before Yi Lingchong could speak. Yi Lingchong looked at his son with satisfaction, then said faintly, Yes, unless it's absolutely necessary, the Zhang family will not fight to the death with us. But you two must leave. No, father, we will never leave. Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing replied in unison. Their eyes were filled with determination. Yi Lingchong shook his head and let out a heavy sigh. He didn't know how to persuade his children. As a father, how could he bear to let his children die at such an early age? At this moment, the guard's voice came from outside the door. Patriarch, the Zhang family's people are here again. Yi Lingchong's expression changed slightly, and then he said indifferently, It seems like they're getting impatient. After saying that, he hurriedly walked out of the house. Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing looked at each other and immediately followed him out. In the main hall of the Yi clan, there were 3 lodgers, 1 young man and 2 old men. The young man's name was Zhang Ji, and he was Yi Shuiqing's designated fiancé. At the same time, he was also a proud disciple of the Golden Fist sect. The blue-robed old man was an elder of the Zhang family, with the strength of a mid-stage Earth Emperor. The other golden-robed old man was an elder of the Golden Fist sect, with the strength of a high-level Earth Emperor. Both of them had a dignified expression, but the eyes of the Golden Fist sect's elder were filled with contempt and arrogance. The 3 of them had come here to give the Yi family a final blow to get them to hand over the Spirit Ascension art. When Yi Lingchong walked out of the hall, Zhang Ji tactfully stood up and cupped his hands towards Yi Lingchong. Greetings, Uncle Yi. Yi Lingchong waved his hand and said, I'm not worthy of being your uncle. If the three of you are here for my Yi family's spirit ascension art, then please leave. My Yi family will never hand it over. Yi Lingchong made it clear as soon as he opened his mouth. In any case, the Yi family had already prepared for the worst. Uncle Yi, why are you so insistent? In fact, it's not like we have to take the spirit ascension art. We just want to borrow it to take a look. Once we're done, we'll naturally return it to Uncle Yi. Zhang Ji's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Zhang Ji's words were pleasant to hear. He only wanted to borrow it to take a look, but after this look, it was equivalent to the Yi family's spirit ascension art being spread out. Yi Lingchong slapped the table heavily and said, "Don't go too far." Patriarch Yi, why are you so angry? Our Zhang and Yi families have been friends for thousands of years. Why get angry over such a small matter? Our patriarch said that as long as you are willing to borrow the spirit ascension art to take a look, our patriarch is willing to offer a red stair fragment in exchange, the Zhang family elder said faintly. You should give up on this idea. The spirit ascension art is the Yi family's ancestral secret. It has never been passed on to outsiders. Don't even think about getting it. Our Yi family will never hand it over, Yi Lingchong said decisively once again. Father, why are you talking nonsense with them? I've already sent someone to inform the patriarch. If they don't leave, then they'll all stay, Yi Yunfeng said as he walked out from behind. Zhang Ji and the other two stood up emotionally. If the Yi family's patriarch really got angry and killed them, then they would have died unjustly. However, Yi Yunfeng's words were just to scare them. The Golden Fist sect elder quickly calmed down and said, "This old man is the Golden Fist sect's Fan Zhang. Does the Yi family really want to become enemies with the Golden Fist sect?" The Golden Fist sect was the strongest 6th grade sect within 10,000 miles. Their name was not just for show. It was precisely because the Yi family knew that Zhang Ji had become a true disciple of the Golden Fist sect that they had no choice but to agree to the marriage. Now that the Golden Fist sect's people had appeared in their Yi family, Yi Lingchong felt that there was no room for negotiation. Either hand over the spirit ascension art, or the Yi family would fight it out with them. Yi Lingchong's expression was ugly as he said, "So it's an elder of the Golden Fist sect. I've been disrespectful." Fan Zhang coldly snorted and said, "Stop pretending. Today, your Yi family must hand over the spirit ascension art. Otherwise, in less than 3 days, my Golden Fist sect's previous elder will personally come to ask for it. However, at that time, it won't be so easy to talk to him." When Yi Lingchong heard this, his body and mind trembled. He thought to himself, the Zhang family has already revealed their Yi family's secret to the Golden Fist sect. It seems that if I don't hand over the spirit ascension art, my Yi family will not be able to escape this calamity. Uncle Yi, I am now a true disciple of the sect. If you marry Shuiqing to me and then hand over the spirit ascension art, both our Zhang and Yi families will follow the sect's lead. In the future, our two families will still be kings in this land, and we can also extend the friendship between our two families for 1,000 years. This is a good thing to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Zhang Ji smiled proudly from the side. Dream on. Even if I die, I won't marry a villain like you. Yi Shuiqing coldly snorted. In that case, martial uncle, let's go. They will regret it. Zhang Ji said resolutely and then called the other two to leave. It was at this time that Ling Xiao and the others arrived at the Yi family. Chapter 530. Ling Xiao's ambition was undoubtedly great, so great that Hua Xiaogue and Tang Guagua could only look up to him. However, neither of them felt that Ling Xiao was the kind of person who would brag without thinking about the cost. Because Ling Xiao had the strength and qualifications to do so. They already knew that the people around Ling Xiao were unimaginably powerful, especially the tower-like brawny man in the interspatial ring, who was an existence that even the 6th Order Flood Dragon was afraid of. In fact, even Ling Xiao himself did not know what kind of force he wanted to establish in line with his character. He was a person who did not like to be restrained by others, and at the same time, he was not a person who was good at management. He only liked to do things as he pleased, and as long as others did not provoke him, he would be satisfied. This request seemed very simple, but it was extremely difficult to achieve. For example, if Ling Xiao took a few of his beauties around the city, there would definitely be lecherous people looking for trouble. Another example was if Ling Xiao found some kind of rare treasure and it was known by others, then there would definitely be people coming to rob it. Another example was if high-rank alchemists knew that he had a rare pearl, then there would definitely be many alchemists coming to find trouble with him. There would definitely be too many things like this to deal with. Therefore, in order to prevent such things from happening, Ling Xiao must establish his own force. Not only for himself, but also for his family and friends around him. He hoped that one day, he could casually announce the name of his force and everyone would have to give way. Therefore, Ling Xiao's ambition was still very great. Because to reach that level, he had to become an existence like the most powerful 18 great forces in the central region. In the central region, these 18 great forces were the pinnacle of existence, and other forces basically did not dare to provoke them. The reason why Ling Xiao confided in Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guagua was entirely because he hoped to rely on their strength to achieve what he wanted. Hua Xiaogui had always been firm with his words, and Tang Guagua still needed further communication to make foolproof preparations. Of course, the reason why Ling Xiao valued the two of them so much was naturally because of their professional relationship. Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guada were respectively an alchemist and a weapon refiner. Both professions were the most respectable professions on the continent. Once they grew up, their rallying power would definitely be terrifying. In this way, they would definitely gather many experts to follow them in the future, and it would be hard for their forces not to grow stronger. This was the real reason why Ling Xiao had abducted Tang Guagua from the Tang family to the central region. As for Ling Xiao himself, of course, he was also an apothecary. Before Hua Xiaogui matured, he naturally had to take on more work. However, he didn't have so much time to spend on alchemy, so he could only train Hua Xiaogui to replace his position. He just wanted to be a small leader who didn't care about anything. After listening to Ling Xiao's words, Hua Xiaogui and Tang Guada felt that it was a little unbelievable. At the same time, the blood in their bodies seemed to be a little boiling. They were all young people, and they were all outstanding young people with ideals and ambitions. Ling Xiao's words had undoubtedly given them a definite goal. As for this goal, it seemed a little out of reach, but it seemed that as long as Ling Xiao existed, it would be possible. Therefore, they had already secretly decided to work hard to follow Ling Xiao and achieve their grand dream. For the next few days, Ling Xiao and the others spent their time in Shatterhill City. They had just arrived in the central region, so there was a lot of information they needed to understand. Otherwise, there would be no point in acting blindly. In addition, Ling Xiao had also asked around about the Dragon Water sect, but unfortunately, no one had heard of this sect. Ling Xiao was extremely puzzled. Had they been tricked by that old woman? Of course, that old woman had praised their Dragon Water sect for being a fifth-rank sect with a great reputation in the central region. Now that this situation had occurred, Ling Xiao couldn't be at ease with Yun Mingqi's safety. He had to find the Dragon Water sect as soon as possible. Looks like we can only go to the Yi family city. Ling Xiao frowned and sighed. Feng Xianyun hugged Ling Xiao's waist from behind and said, "Are you thinking about big sister Mingqi again?" Ling Xiao had never hidden anything about Yun Mingqi from Feng Xianyun. Feng Xianyun also knew that they only had one goal, and that was to find Yun Mingqi as soon as possible. Even though she was a little jealous, she could see that Ling Xiao was an absolutely responsible man. Ling Xiao patted the back of Feng Xianyun's delicate hand and said, "You just want to find her as soon as possible. When the time comes, we'll be together and find a place to live. We won't be apart for the rest of our lives." Feng Xianyun rolled her eyes at Ling Xiao and said, "I knew you were greedy. Now that you have so many sisters, you're not allowed to find other women. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble." Ling Xiao laughed dryly. "Of course not. It's already hard for my husband to deal with all of you. You're so annoying." Feng Xianyun lightly punched Ling Xiao. The next day, Ling Xiao and the others began to rush towards Yi Clan City. It would take half a month to fly from Shatterhill City to Yi Clan City, and there were several cities and many mountain ranges between them. Originally, Ling Xiao and the others could also use the teleportation formation to reach Yi Clan City. However, everyone wanted to see the scenery of the central region, so they chose to fly. In the sky above the central region, many martial artists could be seen riding on flying spirit beasts. However, when those carefree martial artists saw Ling Xiao and the others flying over, they were so scared that they almost fell from the sky. Their mounts didn't even need to be ordered to hide far away. The 9 blood wind eagles were powerful existences, and they were also very bloodthirsty. Once they were targeted, they would definitely not have a good ending. They all muttered in their hearts, "Who is so terrifying to actually subdue a blood wind eagle?" On the 11th day, Ling Xiao and the others finally arrived at Yi Clan City. Originally, the journey was estimated to take half a month, but the speed of the blood wind eagle was so fast that it had shortened the time by a few days. Yi Clan City was much larger than Shatterhill City, and its degree of prosperity was also not something that Shatterhill City could compare to. This was because the Yi clan was considered to be a famous family in the vicinity. If one were to compare the Yi clan's influence, it would at least be comparable to a 7th-grade sect. It was said that the Yi clan's ancestor had been a heavenly venerable 500 years ago, and the Yi clan also had another heavenly venerable. At the same time, the Yi clan also had a 6th-grade high-grade spirit beast that guarded the clan. This was also the reason why the Yi clan had been prosperous for so long. Although the Yi clan's strength was not bad, it could only be considered a third-rate clan in the central region. Compared to many other forces, it was still very far away. In the vicinity, the Zhang clan of the Zhang clan city could be compared to the Yi clan. The two cities were neighbors, and the ancestors of the two families were good friends. Therefore, the relationship between the two families had always been very good. However, this relationship could not be maintained forever. Now, the Yi clan and the Zhang clan had become irreconcilable enemies. The reason was very simple. 20 years ago, the Yi clan's people had discovered a crystal mine in a mountain range. A crystal mine, no matter where it was, would be extremely desirable for any force to obtain it. However, not long after the Yi clan discovered this crystal mine, the Zhang clan also learned of this news. Of course, the Zhang clan was envious that the Yi clan had found such an enviable crystal mine. If the Yi clan completely mined this crystal mine, they would greatly surpass the Zhang clan in terms of resources. Between the two families, there would definitely be a situation where one was stronger and the other was weaker. The Zhang clan naturally did not wish for this situation to occur. In the end, they could not hold back and made their request to the Yi clan. This request was hoping that the Zhang clan could mine the crystal mine together with the Yi clan and split the glazed crystals in the crystal mine equally. One had to admit that the Zhang clan's request was very excessive. However, they boldly and confidently said that the two families had always been as close as brothers and that good things naturally had to be shared. Of course, the Yi clan immediately rejected the Zhang clan's unreasonable request. What a joke! Would you let others eat half of the fat meat that was already in your mouth? This was obviously impossible. Therefore, the Zhang clan was not reconciled and actually chose to split the two parties. Since their own family could not get a share of the pie, then the Yi clan could also forget about getting a share. Therefore, the Zhang clan sent people to spread the news that the Yi clan had found the crystal mine. This was great. The crystal mine was something that any force coveted. This news was quickly spread to the ears of some of the nearby forces. The Yi clan's crystal mine did not have much to mine before it was jointly divided by these forces. The Yi clan was filled with hatred. These days it was not easy to find a crystal mine, but it was actually gone just like that. Facing these forces that were similar to the Yi clan, they also had no way to resist all of them. Therefore, the Yi clan transferred this hatred to the Zhang clan who spread the news. The Yi clan went to the Zhang clan to reason with them, but the Zhang clan flatly denied that they were the ones who spread the news. Therefore the two clans fought. Although the two clans did not cause too many casualties, the relationship between the two clans was severed because of this. Today, 20 years later, the two clans were still in a situation where they were opposing each other. However, it seemed that the Zhang clan did not want this opposing relationship to continue. The Zhang clan actually had the cheek to propose marriage to the Yi clan. If it was someone else, they would definitely think that the Zhang clan was crazy, but in fact the Zhang clan was not crazy. Because as early as 20 years ago, before the Zhang clan and Yi clan formed a hostile relationship, the Zhang clan's clan head and the Yi clan's clan head had already arranged for their children to be married before they were born. In fact, the Zhang clan and the Yi clan had many marriages in the past. But the problem was that the relationship between the two clans was so tense now, and the Zhang clan actually dared to propose marriage. This really made the people of the Yi clan furious. However, after learning a piece of news, everyone in the Yi clan did not dare to make a sound, and the Yi clan's clan head finally agreed to the marriage. And this news was that the Zhang clan's clan head's son, who was also the main character of this marriage, had become a true disciple of the 6th grade sect, Golden Fist sect. His position in the Golden Fist sect was quite high, and he was very liked by the elders. The Golden Fist sect was the most powerful sect within tens of thousands of miles of the Zhang clan and Yi clan. They were famous for their fist techniques, and there were many experts in the sect. It was not something that ordinary families could compare to. The Zhang clan had the backing of the Golden Fist sect, so they had the confidence to go to the sect again for a marriage alliance. Of course, this marriage was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. However, before the Zhang clan and Yi clan were about to hold the marriage alliance, the Yi clan's clan head's daughter disappeared. This forced the two clans to terminate the marriage alliance. Who knew that the Zhang clan would use this as a pretext, saying that the Yi clan did not keep their promise, and demanded an explanation from the Yi clan. If they did not comply, then the Yi clan would just wait to be removed. Chapter 531. The patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Lingchong, was in his 60s and was already a low-level earth sovereign. He had a son and a daughter, Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing. Both of them were outstanding cultivators of the younger generation in Tenbin. Yi Yunfeng was only 27 years old but was already a high-level king. His daughter was also very powerful. She was only 21 years old but was already a mid-level king. This pair of children was Yi Lingchong's greatest pride and hope for the future of the Yi family. However, Yi Lingchong was extremely angry about the Zhang family's marriage, but under great pressure, he chose to compromise. Of course, this compromise was only an expedient measure. He just wanted to stabilize the Zhang family's position and then send his daughter away from the Yi family. Yi Lingchong didn't want to marry his most beloved daughter to the Zhang family. He had already guessed that the Zhang family's sudden marriage proposal was just an excuse. Although he didn't know what their goal was, Yi Lingchong still took precautions. He thought that with his daughter's disappearance, the Zhang family would give up on the marriage. Who knew that this would force the Zhang family to reveal their true purpose of the marriage? The Zhang family wanted to obtain the Yi family's exclusive secret technique, the Spirit Ascension technique. The Spirit Ascension technique wasn't a mystical skill. It was a secret technique and a rare cultivation technique. The person who mastered the Spirit Ascension technique could increase his combat power by 3 times in a fight for 2 hours. After that, the user's combat power would disappear temporarily, and they wouldn't be able to use spiritual power for 7 days. The effect of the Spirit Ascension technique seemed to be similar to some kind of medicinal pill that could increase combat power. However, the user could recover their combat power after 7 days and there wouldn't be any side effects like medicinal pills. This kind of secret technique was very rare in the continent, and it was what the Yi family had been relying on for a long time. Think about it, if 2 martial artists of the same level were to fight and one of them could suddenly increase his combat power by 3 times, it would be obvious who would win and who would lose. The Zhang family and the Yi family had been on good terms for generations and naturally knew about the existence of the Spirit Ascension technique. However, they had never seen the mnemonic chant. The Zhang family had always been jealous of the Yi family's Spirit Ascension technique. However, the Yi family wasn't any weaker than the Zhang family. It was impossible to snatch it by force. Therefore they came up with the idea of a marriage alliance. Because in the Yi family, only a few direct descendants of the Yi family could cultivate the Spirit Ascension chant. Yi Shuiqing was Yi Lingchong's daughter, so she would definitely cultivate the Spirit Ascension chant. Therefore, the Zhang family wanted to marry Yi Shuiqing into their Zhang family. So wouldn't it be easy for them to obtain the Spirit Ascension art from her? However, they did not expect the Yi family to play a game of disappearance with them. As a last resort, the Zhang family could only shed all pretense of cordiality and use the name of the Golden Fist sect to force the Yi family to hand over the Spirit Ascension technique. Otherwise, the Yi family would be eliminated. If the Zhang family wanted to deal with the Yi family, it could only be said to be a 50-50 chance. In the end, it was not certain who would be the winner. However, the Zhang family had the backing of the Golden Fist sect, so the Yi family had no choice but to worry. Once the Golden Fist sect went all out to help the Zhang family, then the Yi family would not be able to escape. Just as the Yi clan was in distress, Yi Shuiqing, who had escaped, returned to the clan. After Yi Shuiqing was rescued by Ling Xiao, he was handed over to Wei Linlin. Wei Linlin immediately rushed to the exit of the Blood Devil territory with Yi Shuiqing and returned to Yi Family City as fast as possible. However, the two of them rushed out of the Blood Devil territory half a month later than Ling Xiao and the others. This was because Ling Xiao and the others had flown over on the Blood-Wind Eagle. In other words, when Ling Xiao and the others were in Shatterhill City, the two of them were still hurrying through the Blood Devil territory. However, in the end, the two of them returned to Yi Family City one step ahead of Ling Xiao and the others. This was because the two of them did not fly from Shatterhill City to Yi Family City like Ling Xiao and the others did. Instead, they directly returned to Yi Family City through the transmission array in Shatterhill City. Yi Lingchong's son and daughter were both in Yi Lingchong's study. Yi Lingchong was in his 50s, but he looked to be in his early 40s. He had a refined and extraordinary appearance, and his energy was restrained. Ordinary people would not be able to tell that his cultivation was already at the earthly sovereign realm. Yi Yunfeng was 27 years old and full of heroic spirit. His figure was like a mountain, and his aura was like a peak. He looked like an extremely brave and battle-hungry young man. Yi Shuiqing was dressed in light and elegant satin. Her body was exquisite, and her temperament was excellent. She was a rare beauty. You two must leave Yi Family City as soon as possible, Yi Lingchong said with his hands behind his back. His brows revealed deep worry. Yi Yunfeng refused. Father, we don't need to be afraid of the Zhang family. At worst, we'll just break the net. It's good that things are so easily resolved. Now that they've brought up the Golden Fist sect, it's clear that they want to use their power to suppress us. We're not afraid of the Zhang family, but the Golden Fist sect is not so easy to deal with. If you two leave, we won't have to worry about anything. Moreover, with your talents, you two will definitely be able to shake the Yi family's reputation in the future. At that time, we'll seek justice for our Yi family, Yi Lingchong said. Yi Shuiqing gritted her teeth and said, How about I marry into the Zhang family? That way, they won't have an excuse to threaten us. Seeing Yi Shuiqing's awkward expression, it was clear that she did not want to marry into the Zhang family. Yi Lingchong sighed. Don't you understand? The Zhang family's target is our Yi family's spirit ascension art. Now that we've shed all pretense of cordiality, it doesn't matter whether you marry into the Zhang family or not. Father. Then let's flee. Yi Shuiqing said in fear. Although she was a mid-rank king rank expert, she didn't want all the members of her family to die here. Impossible. How can the son of the Yi family run away without a fight? Yi Yunfeng shouted before Yi Lingchong could speak. Yi Lingchong looked at his son with satisfaction, then said faintly, Yes, unless it's absolutely necessary, the Zhang family will not fight us to the death. But you two must leave. No, father, we will never leave. Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing replied in unison. Their eyes were filled with determination. Yi Lingchong shook his head and sighed heavily. He did not know how to persuade his children. As a father, how could he bear to let his children die at such an early age? At this moment, the guard's voice came from outside the door. Patriarch, the Zhang family's people are here again. Yi Lingchong's expression changed slightly, and then he said indifferently, It seems that they are already impatient. After saying that, he hurriedly walked out of the house. Yi Yunfeng and Yi Shuiqing looked at each other and immediately followed him out. In the main hall of the Yi clan, there were 3 lodgers, 1 young man and 2 old men. The young man's name was Zhang Ji, and he was Yi Shuiqing's designated fiancé. At the same time, he was also a proud disciple of the Golden Fist sect. The blue-robed old man was an elder of the Zhang family, with the strength of a mid-stage Earth Emperor. The other golden-robed old man was an elder of the Golden Fist sect, with the strength of a high-level Earth Emperor. Both of them had a dignified expression, but the eyes of the Golden Fist sect's elder were filled with contempt and arrogance. The 3 of them had come here to give the Yi family a final blow to get them to hand over the spirit ascension art. When Yi Lingchong walked out of the hall, Zhang Ji tactfully stood up and cupped his hands towards Yi Lingchong. Greetings, Uncle Yi. Yi Lingchong waved his hand and said, I am not worthy of being your uncle. If the 3 of you have come for my Yi family's spirit ascension art, then please leave. My Yi family will never hand it over. Yi Lingchong made it clear as soon as he opened his mouth. In any case, the Yi family had already prepared for the worst. Uncle Yi, why are you so insistent? In fact, it's not like we have to take the spirit ascension art. We just want to borrow it to take a look. After we finish, we will naturally return it to Uncle Yi. Xianxi's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. Xianxi's words were pleasant to hear. He only wanted to borrow it to take a look, but after this look, it was equivalent to the Yi family's spirit ascension art being spread out. Yi Lingchong slammed the table and said, "Don't go too far. Patriarch Yi, why are you so angry? Our Zhang and Yi families have been friends for thousands of years. Why do you have to get angry over such a small matter? Our patriarch has said that as long as you are willing to borrow the spirit ascension art to take a look, our patriarch is willing to offer a red stair fragment in exchange," the Zhang family elder said faintly. "You should give up on this idea. The spirit ascension art is a secret passed down in the Yi family. It has never been passed on to outsiders. Don't even think about getting it. Our Yi family will definitely not hand it over," Yi Lingchong said decisively. "Father, why are you talking nonsense with them? I have already sent someone to inform the patriarch. If they don't leave, then they will all stay." Yi Yunfeng walked out from behind and said. Zhang Ji and the other two stood up emotionally. If the Yi family's patriarch really got angry and killed them, then they would have died unjustly. However, Yi Yunfeng's words were just to scare them. The Golden Fist sect elder quickly calmed down and said, "This old man is Golden Fist sect's Fan Zhang. Does the Yi family really want to become enemies with our Golden Fist sect?" The Golden Fist sect was the strongest 6th grade sect within 10,000 miles. Their name was not just for show. It was precisely because the Yi family knew that Zhang Ji had become a true disciple of the Golden Fist sect that they had no choice but to agree to the marriage. Now that the people of the Golden Fist sect had appeared in their Yi family, Yi Lingchong felt that there was no room for negotiation. Either hand over the spirit ascension art, or the Yi family would fight it out with them. Yi Lingchong's expression was ugly as he said, "So it's an elder of the Golden Fist sect. I have been disrespectful." Fan Zhang coldly snorted and said, "Stop pretending. Today, your Yi family must hand over the spirit ascension art. Otherwise, in less than 3 days, my Golden Fist sect's previous elder will personally come to ask for it. However, when that time comes, it won't be so easy to talk." When Yi Lingchong heard this, his body and mind trembled. He thought to himself, the Zhang family has already revealed their Yi family's secret to the Golden Fist sect. It seems that if I don't hand over the spirit ascension art, my Yi family will not be able to escape this calamity. Uncle Yi, I am now a true disciple of the sect. If you marry Shuiqing to me and then hand over the spirit ascension art, both our Zhang and Yi families will follow the sect's lead. In the future, our two families will still be kings in this land, and we can also extend the friendship between our two families for 1,000 years. This is a good thing to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Zhang Ji smiled proudly from the side. Dream on. Even if I die, I won't marry a villain like you. Yi Shuiqing coldly snorted. In that case, martial uncle, let's go. They will regret it. Zhang Ji said resolutely and then called the other two to leave. It was at this time that Ling Xiao and the others arrived at the Yi family. Chapter 532. Ling Xiao's group landed in Yi Clan City, but they didn't stroll around. Instead, they asked for directions to the Yi Clan. Thus, Ling Xiao's group walked for more than 2 hours before they finally arrived at the Yi Clan's courtyard. Very few people in Yi Clan City didn't know where the Yi Clan was, because the Yi Clan was the ruler and the landlord here. The Yi Clan's courtyard wasn't located in the center of the city. Instead, it was located on the outskirts of the city. The courtyard occupied a large area, and from afar, it looked like a small village. Numerous pavilions stood tall and majestic. It was obvious that the Yi Clan's influence in the Yi Clan city was immense. Ling Xiao's group arrived at the Yi Clan's courtyard. As expected of a large clan, occupying such a large area. Ling Xiao sighed. The Yi Clan is comparable to a 7th-rank sect. Of course they have a strong background. Poison Scorpion replied. On the way here, they had already learned about the Yi Clan's basic situation. Ling Xiao didn't expect Yi Shuiqing and Wei Linlin to be from such a large clan. Of course, in the eyes of Ling Xiao's group, it was indeed a large clan. Compared to the central region, it was naturally only a slightly larger clan. There was still a huge gap between it and a true ancient clan. Solitary Eagle, take this token and ask around. Tell them you're looking for Miss Yi Shuiqing. Ling Xiao threw the token that Wei Lin had given him to Solitary Eagle. Solitary Eagle accepted the token and immediately walked up to the gate. At this time, Zhang Ji and the other two happened to be rushing out of the Yi clan. Solitary Eagle thought that Zhang Ji and the other two were from the Yi clan, so he went up to them and asked, "May I ask?" Before he could finish his words, Zhang Ji pushed Lone Eagle away and said, "Where did this blind thing come from? How dare you block this young master's path?" Zhang Ji had just been rejected by Yi Ling Chong in the Yi clan, so he was holding back his anger. Now that someone had come out to block his way, he thought it was a lackey from the Yi clan, so he used a lot of force in his attack. Solitary Eagle didn't expect to be punished for asking someone, and was pushed back a few steps by Zhang Ji. "Why are you like this?" Lone Eagle frowned. Although Lone Eagle was just a servant of Ling Xiao, he was once a freelance mercenary. His temper wasn't small, especially now that his strength had greatly increased. Naturally, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone. Zhang Ji and the other two stopped in their tracks. They had just suffered a setback, and now there were actually nobodies jumping around in front of them. Could it be that the Yi clan really regarded them as nothing? "Are you blind? I'm like this, and you think you can eat me? I'm still going to hit you." Young Master Zhang Ji's temper flared. He had not expected that a servant would dare to talk back to him. He had always been a high and mighty young master in the Zhang family. After arriving at the Golden Fist sect, he became a true disciple. His temper was getting worse and worse. After he shouted, he actually swung a slap at Lone Eagle. Solitary Eagle and Zhang Ji were both at the mid-stage of the king rank, so it was naturally impossible for them to be enveloped by Zhang Ji. He instantly took 2 steps back and frowned. "Don't blame me for being impolite if you attack again." Zhang Ji instantly became even more furious and immediately cursed. "Who do you think you are, you dog servant? How dare you talk back? You're courting death." After Zhang Ji shouted, his figure flashed and a golden light shot towards Lone Eagle's chest. Lone Eagle did not fight head-on with his opponent. Instead, he took a few more steps back and looked at Ling Xiao. He really wanted to fight back, but he had to know what his young master was thinking. While he was distracted, Zhang Ji sent another punch at him. Lone Eagle's reaction was still a bit slow, and his shoulder was hit. Zhang Ji did not let him off. He shouted and his fists glowed with dazzling golden light as he punched towards Lone Eagle. Lone Eagle was already prepared, so he naturally could not let Zhang Ji have his way. His wind attribute was constantly changing, and Zhang Ji was not able to gain any advantage. Zhang Ji was slightly surprised, but this did not make him feel defeated, because he had not used his full strength. Just as he was about to use his full strength, Ling Xiao opened his mouth. "Lone Eagle, don't lose this young master's face." Lone Eagle's body trembled, and he released his aura. Zhang Ji revealed a look of disdain. "Come, watch as this young master turns you into a pile of mud." Although Zhang Ji could see that his opponent was also at the mid-stage king stage, he was confident that he could defeat any opponent at the same level. With him as the center, an intense golden light bloomed, and a layer of golden armor covered his entire body, making him look extremely majestic. Lone Eagle took the initiative to attack first, and his palms turned into claws. At this moment, his entire body seemed to have transformed into a terrifying eagle beast, and his claws were filled with a strong desire to kill. Eagle Track 9 Forms. A red rank wind attribute profound skill. This was a high rank profound skill that Ling Xiao had obtained from the Heaven Suppressing sect, and Ling Xiao had later given it to Lone Eagle. This Eagle Track 9 forms seemed to have been created for Lone Eagle, and he had already mastered the first 5 forms after cultivating for a period of time. A red rank profound skill was a very high rank profound skill, and even in the central region, it was extremely precious. Lone Eagle's cultivation of the Eagle Track 9 forms meant that his combat strength had greatly increased, and he also cultivated 2 attributes at the same time, so it didn't seem difficult for him to fight above his level. Lone Eagle and Zhang Ji began to fight in front of the Yi family's door. Lone Eagle was like an eagle pouncing on a rabbit, sometimes up and sometimes down, sometimes left and sometimes right, and his pair of claws carried a sharp killing intent. Zhang Ji was also not an ordinary person, and his fist technique was only slightly inferior to Lone Eagle's. Although he was at a disadvantage, he did not lose for a while. The Zhang family elder frowned and said to Fan Sung, "Elder Fan, Zhang Ji might not be able to defeat him." Fan Sang nodded and said, "The opponent's claw technique is very powerful, but it doesn't look like he's from the Yi family. I've never heard of anyone from the Yi family who knows claw techniques. Could it be that the Yi family invited a helper?" The Zhang family elder guessed. Fan Sang's expression was somewhat arrogant as he said, "It's useless here, my senior brother has already arrived. In 3 days, the Yi family will hand over the spirit ascension technique, otherwise, humph." At this time, the Yi family had already been alerted. How could they not notice that a battle had broken out in front of their own home? "Who dares to cause trouble in the Yi family?" A loud shout rang out. Yi Yunfeng, with a long spear in hand, instantly appeared in front of Lone Eagle and Zhang Ji. Lone Eagle's figure flashed strangely, and he dodged Yi Yunfeng's attack. Zhang Ji was not slow either, and his body quickly bounced to the other side. However, Lone Eagle did not stop because of this. Instead, he increased his speed to the maximum, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Zhang Ji, and his claws landed on his shoulders. Zhang Ji did not expect Lone Eagle to attack again, and was caught off guard. Lone Eagle ruthlessly scratched his shoulder, and 2 long scratches appeared on both of his shoulders, causing him to retreat in pain. "How dare you injure someone from the Zhang family? You're simply courting death." The Zhang family elder saw that Zhang Ji was injured, and immediately became furious. He ignored the Yi family elder's presence and leaped forward, directly slapping Lone Eagle. At this time, a royal stage elder beside Yi Lingchong wanted to stop the Zhang family elder, but he was stopped by Yi Lingchong. "Let's wait and see," Yi Lingchong said indifferently. However, Yi Lingchong did not notice that his daughter was covering her mouth in shock. Lone Eagle might have the strength to fight a high-level king, but he had no chance against an Earth Sovereign. He could only retreat with all his might. However, the speed of an Earth Sovereign was not something a mid-level king could compare to. In the blink of an eye, the Zhang family elder appeared above Lone Eagle's head, and a golden palm quietly smashed down on him. Just as Lone Eagle was about to be injured by the Zhang family elder, a black-green light quickly attacked the Zhang family elder from behind. If the Zhang family elder wanted to injure Lone Eagle, then he would have to take the sneak attack from behind. However, the Zhang family elder clearly did not want to suffer such a loss. He withdrew his palm and quickly fled into the sky. "Who ambushed this emperor?" The Zhang family elder lowered his head and shouted at Ling Xiao and the others. Poison Scorpion quietly stood up and said, "This emperor ambushed you. If you have the guts, then let's have a little fun." The Zhang family elder glanced at Poison Scorpion and realized that he could not see through the other party's cultivation, but he could clearly feel that the other party's aura was stronger than his. "Who exactly are you?" The Zhang family elder did not dare to act rashly, but he was puzzled in his heart. Could it really be a helper invited by the Yi family? "We have to get to the bottom of this. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Poison Scorpion said forcefully. He had no choice but to be forceful. He had followed a powerful young master, and as a servant, he had no choice but to work hard to avoid being looked down upon by the young master. "I am the Golden Fist Sect's Fan Sung. May I know where you are from?" Fan Sung stood up and shouted. He could see that Poison Scorpion's cultivation was at the peak of the Earth Sovereign realm, which was even stronger than him. Moreover, the other group of people were all quite strong, so he naturally did not want to provoke them at this time. Otherwise, they would be the ones to suffer, so he brought up his sect's name, hoping that the other party would retreat. After all, their Golden Fist sect was also a large sect in the southwest. Poison Scorpion was stunned for a moment, then he returned to Ling Zhao's side and bowed. "Young master, they are from the Zhang family and the Golden Fist sect." "Zhang family? Isn't this the Yi family? And what rank is the Golden Fist sect? Rank 10 or rank 9? Ling Xiao asked a few questions in a row, looking very puzzled, as if he really did not know what kind of power the Zhang family and the Golden Fist sect were. Poison Scorpion understood Ling Zhao's meaning and asked the Zhang family elder and the people from the Golden Fist sect, "Did you hear what my young master said? We don't know what the Zhang family or the Golden Fist sect are. Please explain." This time, other than Ling Xiao and the others, everyone could hear the disdain and provocation in Ling Zhao's words. Yi Lingchong, on the other hand, was puzzled. Just who are these people? They don't even put the Golden Fist sect in their eyes? In this area, It was rare to not know of the existence of the Golden Fist sect. Fan Sang naturally did not believe that Ling Xiao and the others did not know of the existence of the Golden Fist sect. All right. If you have the guts, then leave your names. In the future, my Golden Fist sect will definitely treat you well. Fan Sang clenched his fists and said angrily. Savage leopard, you tell him. Ling Xiao picked his ears and said indifferently. Fan Sang looked at the young man's disdainful actions and became even angrier. My young master is called Ling Xiao. Savage leopard said faintly. At the same time, a black palm print slapped Fan Sing's face without any warning. Pow! Chapter 533. Pow! The heavy slap sent Fan Sang crashing into the ground. Fan Sang's body even smashed into the ground, forming a small pit. Apart from Ling Xiao and the others, everyone else was dumbfounded. A high-level Earth Emperor was slapped down just like that. Even a blind person could guess what kind of strength Savage Leopard had. Jianghu and the Zhang clan elder were all shocked. How could they have thought that they would provoke such an enemy for no reason? Jianghu was afraid. If that slap landed on his face, he was afraid that his head would be gone. Seventh uncle. What should we do? Jianghu retreated to the Zhang clan elder and asked timidly. You ask me, but who should I ask? The Zhang clan elder said snappily, but in his heart, he was cursing Jianghu 100 times. After all, this matter was caused by Jianghu. Jianghu's face was pale, and his heart was extremely afraid. The three of them coming to the Yi clan was not afraid that the Yi clan would kill them because the Yi clan knew the strength of the Zhang clan and the Golden Fist sect. However, the person in front of them did not seem to care about the Zhang clan and the Golden Fist sect. If the other party were to kill them in a rage, then they would have no place to complain. Fan Sang crawled out of the pit. His face was distorted from the slap, and a lot of teeth had fallen out of his mouth. Blood was constantly oozing out, and he looked extremely ferocious and frightening. Good. Good, Ling Xiao, I will remember you. Fan Sang spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted a few times. His eyes were filled with resentment, and then he flew and disappeared in front of the Yi clan's gate. Jianghu, let's go. The Zhang clan elder grabbed Jianghu's hand and hurriedly followed Fan Sang's figure. Young master, are you going to let them go just like that? Savage Leopard asked from the side. Clowns, let them go. We can't kill people so easily. That will make us look like evil people. You should know that this young master is a kind person. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. As soon as Ling Xiao said this, the people around Ling Xiao felt a little embarrassed. At this time, Yi Ling Chong and the Yi family quickly walked over and greeted Ling Xiao. I am Yi Ling Chong from the Yi family. May I know who this young master is? Before Ling Xiao could speak, a clear and melodious voice rang out, followed by the shadow of a whip sweeping towards Ling Xiao. Pervert, I'll kill you today. The people of the Yi family did not expect that their young miss would dare to make a move against this unfathomable young master. Everyone wanted to stop her, but it was too late. However, before her whip shadow could reach Ling Xiao, the Hong Fu in Kai Shui's hand swept it aside. Sister Shui Qing, if you continue to cause trouble like this, then we will no longer treat you as a sister, Kai Shui said seriously. Ling Xiao was the man that Kai Shui loved the most in her life. No matter what kind of person Ling Xiao was, she would follow Ling Xiao unswervingly. Ling Xiao had seen her body in order to save Yi Shui Qing, and later Ling Xiao had saved her life. In any case, Ling Xiao should be regarded as Yi Shui Qing's benefactor. Now that she had insulted Ling Xiao in public, Kai Shui was also annoyed. Yi Shui Qing was stunned for a moment. She looked at Kai Shui with a little stage fright and said, Sister Yui, I'm sorry. Yi Shui Qing compromised because she also knew that this matter could not be blamed on Ling Xiao. Just now, she was just angry and wanted to vent her anger. Her pure and clean body had not been seen by others, but Ling Xiao not only saw it, but also hugged and touched it. If this matter were to spread, how would she face others? She could only hope that the damned pervert would not publicize this matter. Well, it's good that you know you were wrong. He did this to save you, Kai Shui replied in a slow tone. At this time, Yi Ling Chong wanted to interrupt, but his son Yi Yunfeng heard some clues from his sister's words. Sister, did he bully you? Yi Yunfeng shouted at Ling Xiao with a long spear in his hand. Impudent! How can you treat a guest like this? Go back. Yi Lingchong slapped his son's spear aside and shouted. The scene of Fan Tsang being slapped was still vivid in Yi Lingchong's mind. Although their Yi family also had an Empyrean, now was the time when they needed help. The other party even dared to offend the Golden Fist sect. Perhaps they could help their Yi family through this calamity. Yi Yunfeng said unwillingly. Father, he must have bullied my sister. I want to vent my anger for her. Yunfeng, didn't you see your sister talking to them? If they bullied your sister, would she be so good to them? Yi Lingchong said with a look of disappointment. Yi Yunfeng's cultivation of 10 bin was very high, but his wisdom was somewhat lacking and he was easily impulsive. Yi Lingchong no longer paid attention to his son and went to greet Ling Xiao. He said very enthusiastically, This must be young Master Ling Xiao? I am the head of the Yi family, Yi Lingchong. I heard my family's consecrator, Elder Wei, mention you. My daughter is still thanks to young Master Ling for saving her twice. When Wei Linlin brought Yi Shuiqing back to Yi family city, he reported the journey to Yi Lingchong. When Cruel Leopard called out Ling Zhao's name, Yi Lingchong knew that Ling Zhao's group was the people Wei Linlin mentioned. However, Wei Linlin only said that Ling Zhao's group was strong and had a high-level Earth Emperor. However, it seemed that Wei Linya's knowledge was not comprehensive. Not only was there a high-level Earth Emperor, but there was also a Empyrean. Yi family head is too polite. Ling Xiao just happened to be at the right time. Ling Xiao responded politely. Subsequently, Yi Lingchong warmly welcomed Ling Xiao and others into the family courtyard. At this time, Yi Shuiqing came to her brother and said, Big brother, what do you think of these sisters? In fact, Yi Shuiqing didn't need to say it. Yi Yunfeng had already noticed the existence of Kai Sheyue and the other women. Although they covered most of their faces with a light veil, their charming figures, as well as their different temperaments of elegance, still attracted the eyes of any man. Yi Yunfeng pretended not to notice and said, You mean them? Yes, these sisters are as beautiful as fairies. Even I am jealous. If brother can make them my sister-in-law, I will definitely be happy, Yi Shuiqing encouraged in a low voice. For some reason, Yi Shuiqing didn't have a good impression of Ling Xiao from the beginning. She felt that he was a ruthless, indifferent, lustful, and despicable man. Kai Sheyue and the other women were all stunning women. She felt that Ling Xiao was not worthy of Kai Sheyue and the other women, so she hoped that her brother could keep Kai Sheyue and the other women. It had to be said that Yi Shuiqing's idea was very evil. If Ling Xiao knew what Yi Shuiqing was thinking, he would probably regret saving such a woman. After arriving at the Yi family hall, Wei Linlin also rushed over. Little brother, I didn't expect you to arrive so soon, Wei Linlin said with a smile from afar. Ling Xiao nodded lightly and said, I have something to ask of you, so I came to trouble you. I hope I didn't disturb your family. How could that be? Little brother, what do you need? My Yi family head is here. As long as we can help, we will do our best to help, Wei Linya said. Yi Lingchong also replied, That's right, if young Master Ling has something to say, just say it. This time, Yi Lingchong was very happy. They were most afraid that Ling Xiao and the others were just passing by. That way, the Yi family would have no reason to ask them for help. Now that Ling Xiao had something to ask of them, would Ling Xiao and the others just sit back and do nothing if the Yi family was in trouble? This was obviously not possible, right? Ling Xiao said, If that's the case, then I'll be straightforward. I want to ask your family if you know where the 5th grade sect, the Black Water sect, is. So it's this small matter. I can let the patriarch look through the ancient books. He should be able to find information about the Black Water sect, and then we will know where it is, Wei Linya replied. When he was in the Blood Demon realm, he had heard Ling Xiao ask about this matter. He had also promised Ling Xiao to help him find information about the Black Water sect. Black Water sect? It sounds a little familiar, Yi Lingchong said doubtfully. Have you heard of it, Patriarch Yi? Ling Xiao asked happily. Yi Lingchong shook his head and said, I think I've heard of it somewhere, but I can't remember right now. Let's look through the ancient books. Ling Xiao revealed a disappointed expression, then nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. Just as Yi Lingchong was about to instruct Wei Lin to enter the Yi family scripture pavilion to search for information about the Black Water sect, a stooped old woman walked out from the back of the hall. "Why are you looking for the Black Water sect?" the old woman asked in a hoarse voice. Ling Xiao looked at the old woman and found that she looked like an ordinary old granny. However, with Ling Xiao's current spiritual force, he could see that this old woman was not ordinary. He could conclude that this old woman was at least at the Sky Sovereign level. When the Yi family saw the old woman, they stood up and bowed to her. "Greetings, great-grandmother." Yi Shuiqing immediately greeted her with a smile. "Great-grandmother, why did you come out?" "Haha, how can an old man like me not come out when there's an esteemed guest?" The old woman looked kindly at Yi Shuiqing, then looked at Ling Xiao and asked again, "Why are you looking for the Black Water sect?" Ling Xiao stood up in excitement. From her tone, he could tell that this old woman definitely knew about the Black Water sect's existence. "A good friend of mine was accepted as a disciple by an elder of the Black Water sect, so I want to go find her. However, I don't know where the Black Water sect is. Please tell me, Granny." "Ling Xiao will be very grateful," Ling Xiao explained. When the old woman heard Ling Xiao's words, her eyes flashed with a strange light, then she said indifferently, "Your friend is a woman?" Ling Xiao immediately nodded and said, "Yes." When Yi Shuiqing heard Ling Xiao's answer, he despised him in his heart. What a perverted thief! "Does your friend have a water attribute constitution?" "Yes." "Then you don't need to find her." The old woman waved her hand. Ling Xiao cried out involuntarily, "Why?" The old woman glanced at Ling Xiao and said, "Because your friend might already be dead." "What?" Ling Xiao exclaimed, then he hurriedly asked, "Granny, can you explain it more clearly?" "If I'm not wrong, your friend should have a rare pure water attribute constitution. Otherwise, the Black Water sect's demon wouldn't have accepted her as a disciple," the old woman said indifferently. When Ling Xiao heard this, he couldn't wrap his head around it. This was because the old woman was right. Did something really happen to Yun Qi? You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.